With the beginning of the new year, many of you may have resolved to take on a new challenge, like starting a business, changing careers, or launching a creative project. Whatever your next move might be, tackle it with Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a professional blog, or an online store, Squarespace allows you to create a custom platform where you can make your latest goals into a reality. So start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code BOMBCAST to get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace. Make your next move.
Hey, it's Tuesday, January the 17th, 2017. You are listening to the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker.
Hello.
Jeff Gersman, hello.
Hi.
Back from the Big Apple.
I went.
Did you take a bite out?
I did. I took a big bite out.
Yeah. Drew Scanlon.
Hi, I'm here.
Taking any big bites out of anything recently?
Pears.
Pears.
Gross.
Where's the big pear?
It's what's the guy's name?
Shout out to all the pair.
Yeah,
Shout out to all the pair. You should know this. It was Tim Westwood was interviewing someone who was a famed rapper, I forget, and he was like clearly stoned, and he said, "How come you're losing so much weight now?" And he said, "I eat pears now," and shit like that. Shout out to all the pair.
Yes.
Was
it Gucci Mane?
No.
No. Was this recently?
No, this is like
3
years ago. I have it on a shirt. I should know. I forget. Damn it.
You got to know what your shirts
I have
say.
heard of what you're talking
Yes.
about, but
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just like that the plural of pears is pear.
It's pear.
Yeah.
Shout
Special guest, Danny O'Dwyer
What up?
of No Clip fame.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Still-
you.
Still sounds weird.
That's your gig.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's
You brought
weird
no
to be
clip?
of the fame that you named and made and is also just you.
Yeah.
Like it's like I have a stage name. I'm
Yeah.
like the artist formerly known as Danny.
Now you go.
you
by
should have
No
gone
Clip.
with that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. If that domain's available, I don't know.
It's not now.
Okay.
You
well,
do these live
yeah.
now, so
yeah,
it's all-
yeah. Screwed it up. Grab my laptop. Get it going. Someone was trying to tell me that P.Zone was available.
What?
No way.
Like Pizzone?
Like Pizzone,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
But it's $1,200. So I was like,
Yeah.
for a minute there, I was like, oh. Started looking, and I was like,
How committed
are
are you to the joke?
Not at all.
Yes.
So
That's
no.
kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Jason A. Stryker, manning the wheels of the laptop.
Keeping him greased.
The laptop of steel.
sweaty.
Keep those
and full of
laptops
energy
wet.
drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I like them.
Keep it moving down there.
You got it, man.
Get
I'm here for
those sliders and dials.
Keep the sliders a sliding.
Yeah,
Sliders over there?
you. Fucking A.
Is it
Yeah.
a game industry event?
they're motorized.
Yeah.
Motorized
It's a
sliders.
plate of sad sliders just making its way around
Yep.
the floor.
Yep, they're cold.
They're cold. No one is happy.
Not
Piece
sure what kind
wood
of
through 'em.
not sure what kind of meat it is.
No,
Don't ask.
never.
Is that the quintessential game industry food? Sliders?
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
game
Well,
industry
that's an
that
after
became
bar
such
kind of
the
food.
joke that now I think that people don't have sliders at their
Intentionally?
events anymore.
Okay.
Like the
They don't have a lot of events anymore.
no. Also, there are no events
there's
anymore.
just not a lot of that type of thing going on anymore.
Nintendo had tiny burgers
Yes.
at their events.
Let's
Did they?
talk.
We left before lunch was served.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the Nintendo Switch event
Yes.
that you went to New York for because, man, like, this is pretty much the Nintendo Switch show this week.
I guess so.
They had the gigantic unveiling of that thing last Thursday night
Yeah.
out of Japan,
Right.
streamed live across the internet.
Uh-huh.
And then the next morning, you went and played that thing.
I did. Yeah. It was a weird thing. So I got to the hotel to check in and stuff. And I think I was under the assumption that like, oh, well, this is just going to be like a low-key thing that they're going to let the press play this stuff because obviously they're focusing all of their big guns and all their big effort in Tokyo for this big stream that they're going to have. Because they were like, hey, you should watch the stream before coming to the event because we're not going to go over it. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So, and then like get there and you see like Onuma coming out of an elevator and Miyamoto's walking around. You're like, what the fuck? Wait a minute. Okay. All right.
Did you see Reggie?
Something big is
yeah.
going to go.
Reggie's hard to miss.
Reggie was there as well.
He's
yes.
a presence.
Yeah. So like it felt like the bulk of who you think of as Nintendo's
Yeah.
kind of faces.
The faces. Yeah.
Kid Ellis was there.
Okay.
Whoa.
Everyone who matters
All right.
seemed like they were there.
Yes.
Or that matters in terms of like who you've seen at past E3s and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So obviously out of Japan, they had Kimishima and a lot of their
Oh, so I guess
other people. running that show.
So all of them would have already been in New York while that stream was going on.
Exactly.
There's no way they could have gotten there that fast.
Yeah.
So
they were all there. So that left me going like, is the thing out of Tokyo going to be pre-taped? Because obviously these people would be on it.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, none of those people are on it. So it just that stream ended up having kind of a weird vibe that way.
Kind of not seeing
kind of cool.
Like never having Miyamoto come out was kind of a obvious kind of absence, but I kind of like the vibe of that thing.
I did too.
It was kind of silly.
I think
it was in fact a live stream.
That's my understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that because
It
they
was
were in a
live
theater
translated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely had to be
Yes.
live translated
For
because
sure.
the translations could have been better in some spots.
All right.
Anyway, so I got there and hooked up with one Dan Reichert and some of the guys from Game Informer.
From New York.
Yeah, from, New York's Dan Reichert.
Okay.
And,
Noted New Yorker.
Yeah, we got something to eat, and then I watched that stream.
Did you get one of those big pieces of pizza that you fold in half?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't fold it though.
Did you get a Nathan's hot dog?
No, I didn't. No, we didn't make it out to Coney Island, which I think is probably the only place they sell that stuff. There's no other way. It was
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I watched that stream, same as everybody else.
All right. So why don't we take it from the top and talk about
Yeah.
the big bullet points before we get to your hands-on stuff?
Sure.
It's coming out March 3rd.
Yeah, that's pretty soon.
As
March 3rd?
as a wise man once said, that's soon.
Yeah,
That's
in,
like
in the pantheon of game announcements to
like 6 weeks from now.
launch, that's like
that is an Apple length of time.
their
right?
whole
For a
like
console.
announcement to release cycle has been super short. Like when did that first trailer ran?
September or something.
Was it?
I don't know. October.
I think it was October.
Yeah.
Hadn't they
yeah.
said like March-ish since before
Yeah,
that?
they've been
We're
saying
like,
March
yeah.
for a while.
this thing's
Yeah.
coming out in March.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why have we not heard anything?
Right.
And then
I think the way they've done it, I think
Finally
has worked
did.
out fine.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a
it's-
good thing. It's been nice and shortened and kind
Right.
of
It was like,
compacted.
here's what this thing is.
Yeah.
Pre-orders are about to go up.
Let's not beat around the bush. Like here's everything it is and what it does.
Yeah.
Here's how much it costs. Here's when you can get it.
You know, they know that regardless of like, they could have gotten up there and said like, here's a brick that emits a poop-like smell, and like they probably could have sold through
Is
their
Mario
launch
on it?
quantities.
I'm in.
Yeah, Mario's coming later.
Right.
So like whatever, people got very hand-wringy about like this is not good for how to announce a console. No, whatever, they're gonna sell it through.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You know that they're bad at stocking shelves anyway.
Right.
So
But also, like, I don't feel like there's any major information missing. Like, I feel like they've filled in all the blanks they needed to at this point.
yeah, I feel like maybe there's a little bit of clarity that you could use around the power of the device when docked versus undocked, because I don't know that stuff got confirmed one way or the other. Because obviously they're not going to get up there and say like, and when you take it off of the dock, there's a lot more draw in. Like it's not, that's not something you lead with or whatever. So,
Did you see that was the case? Like a more drawn? I mean, I think they've come out and officially said that 720 versus 1080, whether it's docked or undocked.
I think that's just screen resolution.
Yeah,
or
sure.
whatever. It's
Even
not
that it seems to be up in the air for different games.
Yeah, because
like
some games are not hitting 1080
I saw.
natively.
I didn't see it confirmed, but it was rumored that Zelda is running at 900 on a TV.
Yeah, whatever.
fine.
I mean,
that's
it's not a big deal. Like, kind of who cares? But if we're gonna dig into that stuff, like those seem to be
right.
Seems to be. The
I don't
case.
know. So I played Zelda. That was the only game that they had running in a dock that you could grab out of and play. And it
so it was free. It wasn't like tethered or
It was
locked in.
tethered, but
or
not.
But I mean, it
but you
wasn't
could still
like
pull it
bolted
out.
into
was
the
it
dock.
tethered to a woman?
No,
Okay.
no,
Wow.
no, not
Breaking
like the 3DS.
tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Classic
that was the
Nintendo.
only game that I could really. I spoke with GameSpot's Peter Brown, who was at the event, and he seemed to imply that he saw some more noticeable differences when it was out of the dock and
With
on
Zelda
on the,
in
yeah,
particular?
with Zelda in particular.
like graphic quality or like frame rate or
like drawing and that sort of
or-
stuff.
okay.
Like, but honestly, like on a TV, that game did not have a fully stable frame rate.
Oh right. Did it
and
look different? I mean, it's a long time ago, but you played it at E3, right?
I saw it at E3.
So
yeah.
did it look noticeably better or?
Yeah. Yes. Not in a buy this console to play this game sort of way. I think a Wii U owner could still get that version of the game and probably be okay. But yeah, I think there was a difference. Yeah, it's anyway. Yeah, so we go through the announcements.
Yeah,
real
let's-
quick here because I could meander on about all this stuff for
We'll
the
drill
rest of the
down.
show,
We'll
so.
drill down on your hands-on time here in a minute. But here's what's in the box for $300. So they didn't go with 2 SKUs, as was rumored.
They did
Well, okay, yes, but
But
not
it's-
based on not at different prices.
right.
Like there's no like here's your low storage capacity version for $50 cheaper. or
No,
anything
it's
like
all low storage capacity.
That's the only option you have.
It is expandable, yes.
Yes.
It's micro SD, just like a
Yes.
3DS.
So yeah,
It is.
for $300 you get the Switch, the two Joy-Cons that snap onto the side, the dock that plugs into the TV, the Joy-Con grip, which you stick the two controllers on to make a controller.
And this is the cheap version of that because there are 2 of those.
Oh wait, really? Hang on, I'll finish the list. 2 straps for the Joy-Cons, of
Oh.
course.
The straps have buttons on
Yeah,
them that
like
extend
better
the
shoulder
shoulder
buttons.
buttons
Okay.
on that thing.
Wait,
so
So you'll
What?
actually want to use those if
that
you're.
they slip on. So you slip the thing off the rail.
Yeah.
It's a rail system on the Switch. So
Okay.
you slide it off the rail system, but then that rail is how you connect the strap.
Right.
And that rail has 2 shoulder button extenders on
okay,
it.
to make it more
So
comfortable.
the strap alone comes with like a
A
plastic
piece of plastic that you slide the controller onto and snap it in, lock it down.
Got it.
And that will make the shoulder buttons, when you have it held sideways,
easier to.
slightly more pleasurable to use.
Okay.
On account of they are recessed into that rail by default.
Oh yeah.
And that's a bad way to
Right.
play anything.
Yeah.
So you could technically use
yes,
it without
absolutely,
the strap,
yeah.
but it's
So it's
not,
really
it's
just
not great.
it's a button enhancer.
It's a button
With a strap
Yeah, exactly.
attached
it's
to
a
it.
button that goes on top of the button.
Okay.
That when you push this button, it pushes that.
So
button.
you push the
Great.
button that
It's a
pushes the
physical
button.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's going to lose those.
Yeah.
Those straps, and
Yeah, yeah.
they have to
Totally.
buy new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And then AC adapter and HDMI cable
Yeah.
Ooh.
In the box.
in the box.
Mhm.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Nice work.
So hang on, what's this about the Joy-Con grip having 2 versions? I had not heard,
There's one version that is just a piece of plastic.
and that's what comes with the system.
Yeah, and there's another one that has a USB port on the bottom of it that you can use to charge the Joy-Cons.
Oh, okay, and you'll have to buy that separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
But presumably the Joy-Cons will charge if they're docked in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a light on the dock that tells you when it's charging. There's a light on the charge version of the grip that tells you the battery levels of both the left and right controllers.
Wait, so
when
do
they're
those-
attached?
Do the Joy-Cons only charge hooked up to the system, the tablet?
Yeah.
So if you
Unless
only,
you have this.
that's what I'm saying. If
the
you
second-
don't, so
Unless
if
you have
if
the
don't-
sec,
if you don't
unless
buy
you go,
that,
unless you go buy that extra that more expensive
Ouch.
version of the grip,
you can only play as long as the battery lasts, and then you have to stick them back on the system.
which they're saying it's like 20 hours.
All right, well, that's not bad.
But
That's-
presumably,
that's
if you
pretty
like,
reasonable.
if you like took this, on a weekend away and you were in a hotel and you were like playing,
Yeah, I
there'd be
mean,
no way of hooking it up directly to the power unless you had this
You,
other.
you
Well-
would just kind of have to remember to stick them back on every time you were done.
There's a USB-C port on the bottom of the Switch, so
Okay.
you would plug that into the wall,
Okay.
and to charge the whole thing that way.
Hmm.
And then if you were kickstanding the Switch and taking the controls out at that point, then yeah, that's going to be your power drain.
And that port is for audio and video, correct?
And charge
Which port?
the USB-C.
The USB-C. I think the video, because I think there's just like one main output,
I don't,
and I think it comes over USB. I think the video comes over USB.
I don't.
I'm almost positive.
I'm pretty sure that
Looking
I
at the
think that's right.
system, it didn't seem like there was just a male USB-C plug on that dock.
Okay.
But I didn't get in there too deep to see if it was that or if it was just some kind of easier connection.
Metal
Like sliding that
contacts or
thing in did not feel like, oh, I'm off just a little bit to the side and now it's not docking. Like docking it felt very easy in a way that if there was a male USB thing
Right.
jutting out of that thing, seems like it would be harder to do. But
I mean, there's
don't
got to
know.
be some sort of connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out if anybody took photos at that thing of what that dock looks like.
They
on the
had
inside.
like all those switches were locked down in a variety of Nintendo style bondage,
Okay.
like all those big fucking thick metal things that they
Okay.
attached to all their hardware. Like it was, there was a lot of that.
You guys didn't like this desk, did you? Because we're gonna bolt.
Yeah,
everything
so
to
it was hard to get a sense for the weight of the
Right.
unit on its own, on account of like when I was playing Splatoon 2, it had a giant fucking brick of metal attached to it. So so yeah, like weight comparisons, that sort of stuff, a little bit hard. They did come out and kind of say how much it does weigh, but I can't tell you.
Okay, so they announced, they kind of announced the new online service for this thing, although they didn't really give it a name, if it even has one. But it will be free at launch, and then in the fall of this year, you will start having to pay for it.
Yeah, it seems like that you'll get like I thought I saw some. So it's going to launch without its full slate of features.
The online service?
Yeah, it's not that it's launching and it's
Oh,
free.
it's
and
not like, here's your
free-
trial
It's
period.
free while they're building it or
okay.
whatever. And so this sounds like
It's free to start.
this is a way you could go. So this is going to be their online service. Seems like it's going to be an app for your phone,
Mhm.
and you will voice chat on your phone which is very novel,
Mm.
and not on the device itself. You will send invites and deal with that sort of stuff on the phone.
Does the Switch have a microphone?
No, I don't know.
Hmm.
That's unclear.
Hmm.
This is already like a complicated
I mean,
console.
it doesn't have a camera, so you wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to do video chat stuff. So anyway, yeah. So it seems like they're building their online service around you having a phone,
Okay.
which seems kind of crazy.
Hmm.
In a few, and then charging for it on top of that.
Yeah.
Which those things combined don't sound like a great service. I mean, I guess it depends on pricing. If they match
Yeah.
Xbox Live and PSN, I think that sounds like a real ripoff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to get a clear picture of what you are getting with this
Yeah.
online service. So it's like invites and chat on your phone, and
Yeah.
then there's going to be a free game aspect, but
Yeah.
it sounds pretty limited. It sounds like you will get.
You will get one game a month. But
So
you
is
will
it
not,
one? Is it
Yes.
definitely only one a
But
month?
that is what I think they've said
Okay.
is there'll be one virtual console game a month.
Yeah.
They're going to do some work to those. So like Super Nintendo games will have online functionality. But you do not keep those games
Yeah.
for the duration of your subscription. At the end of the month,
That game
is
Oh,
no
no.
longer
goes
yours.
back
to
behind
play.
the paywall, and then another
And
game.
you can buy it.
Yeah.
But another game then becomes free, and another game then becomes free, and so on and so
That doesn't
forth.
sound great, but at the same time, like most of those virtual console games, I feel like I could get my fill of in 1 month.
I mean, I would not pay for them. Period. I don't. I'm not interested in buying virtual console
Yeah.
games from them
So-
at all because of how they've handled the service up to this point.
Yeah.
So,
But there's no there's not going to be any like library where you can choose from, like to play them.
Not unless you buy them outright.
yeah,
it sounds like.
no,
Yeah.
it's not like if you were. I was a subscriber for this full year, so all 12 of these games are now available to me anytime.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Even that seems like I feel like at this stage Nintendo, because like we've all bought these games like 3 or 4 times over
Right.
at this stage, they should just have like a Netflix style. Here are a bunch of old game. Like at least they're
Yeah.
like the games that they own the license to themselves, maybe or something. Like for a $10 a month, that doesn't seem completely unreasonable.
Right. Yeah, I tend to agree. Like that's I'm not going to pay individual pricing for any of their games, any of their virtual console games ever again, because I've paid for some of those games twice
Right.
on virtual consoles past and had them not migrate forward and all this other stuff. Like I feel burned by
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah.
thing.
It's a bad setup.
and there are other ways to play those games. Like I just don't care enough about like that aspect of the Switch. So it's they could get it right. They could finally unify all that stuff, and they've got Nintendo ID linking on the 3DS that theoretically they could move those purchases over to the Switch if they really wanted to. They could tie your Wii U ID in, and if you bought anything there, they could move that over. Hopefully they will do that and finally start to unify and make good on some of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, they really have not done right by virtual console customers.
I feel
so
like that
far.
stuff's just been
It's-
like a horrible way to go. So yeah, I feel like their online service, I think charging for it maybe makes sense when you look at what the competitive landscape is like for that stuff.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Nintendo,
Yeah,
who
like
who has failed to create a viable way to play games, a viable ecosystem for playing online games.
Yeah.
On multiple systems over
Yeah.
the last decade or so.
also like not they're not super big on putting out a lot of like essential multiplayer games. I mean, Splatoon and
Yeah.
Mario Kart obviously are super popular, but
yeah, but I
beyond those, if
right, yeah,
if you're not into the very small handful of games like multiplayer games that Nintendo puts out, you might be able to get away without.
that's kind of
But maybe
Going-
it's a chicken and egg thing up
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah, maybe.
We haven't had a robust online offering, so why would we create a robust multiplayer?
Hopefully
Right.
they'll
Yeah.
justify it. And then especially when you talk about they haven't created like a really compelling environment on any one console.
right,
It's worth,
and
it's
then
worth,
and
well,
then
it's
hearing
also,
that they've offloaded a lot of the work onto a phone app,
Yeah.
I think just sounds bad.
But I was gonna say it's also worth pointing out multiple outlets have confirmed there's no Street Pass, no Miiverse,
Right.
none of the like fun, goofy kind
Well,
of social
I
things
mean,
they've done in the past.
Yeah, but
I mean maybe there'll be some equivalent or something similar.
the battery life on that thing is such that you're not going to want to walk around with it in some kind of sleep mode.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
like
probably
it's just
true.
kind of not built for that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have cellular.
no,
Right.
just Wi-Fi.
So could you like tether it to your phone?
Yeah, you
to
should-
play,
yeah.
Sure,
play
you could.
online?
Yeah, you should be able to.
I mean, that would be a bad way to go, but you could.
Eh,
Because the bandwidth, like the bandwidth, the latency and bandwidth
Yeah.
of phone connections is not.
it's
ideal
not
for,
great.
for
The
that
minute you
sort of
turn
stuff.
the minute
Yeah.
you turn on a
It's getting
Wi-Fi
better,
adapter as
though.
well, battery life just
Yeah,
dives
yeah,
down
yeah.
with it.
But you're probably right. It's probably not viable.
Mm.
Yeah, so they're saying it'll go up to 6 hours.
Right.
Of battery.
It depended on the game.
But
They
like
said
they
2.5 to 6 was their range, and they kind of specifically cited
quite a
Zelda
range.
as being a
Yeah.
3-hour game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not super long.
Yeah, it's kind of out of the range of like, hey, look at this portable device sort of thing. But I mean, the 3DS initial battery life was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, the Vita's never been outstanding.
Yeah.
Like for actual playtime.
It's an interesting word. Initial.
Yeah,
How many hardware revisions are we going to see this thing?
enough. Right? I mean,
Did you happen to see if the battery was removable?
ah,
Because I wonder, because they put out you could buy, I don't know if it ever hits stores, but you can buy a high capacity battery for the Wii U controller from Nintendo.
huh.
Will they just make a grip that's got a bigger battery on the
Yeah,
back
or
of it
maybe.
or
I
something?
wonder if they will do something
Yeah,
to
maybe.
enhance
I mean,
the battery life on
that thing is USB-C,
Or
so
yes.
any kind of portable
Yeah, maybe a heavy
charger
duty.
thing you've got, as long as it's spitting out the right voltage, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it should theoretically be able to power that thing.
Maybe
You're gonna see kids on buses with like the biggest.
I mean,
Right,
everyone
yeah.
already
The
has them for
sickest
Pokemon
worm
Go.
light on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone already bought their their phone charger thing for Pokemon Go. So just plug your Switch into that instead.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes it that's okay for around town kind of use, but like that's not even a cross country flight in a lot of cases, depending on the game. So that's
Kind of depending on the recharge time as well. Like
Yeah.
how long it takes to just give it a
Yeah.
quick little boost up again.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
32 gig of memory.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot,
Yeah.
but
We don't,
micro SD
I
cards
feel like
are
we
cheap.
don't know enough about the size of the games.
Mm.
Yeah.
People were trying to like cite Doom and all this other stuff. Like that's 90 gigs. Like, well, don't worry because it's not.
I don't think there are going to be a lot of 90 gig
Like,
Switch games.
These assets will be mastered for
Yeah.
1080p at
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where this came from. I saw people talking like the Zelda install was like 15 or 16 gig. I don't know where that
Yeah, I
came
don't know.
from.
Yeah.
That may not be accurate, but
Do we know if that's internal memory and not just like a included 32 gig card?
Yeah, that's internal.
Internal?
Because
Okay.
you can add a micro SD card.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
that
and those go up
helps.
to 256 now
Yeah.
for not that much money.
How
many
I think
blocks
the
is that?
256 as they've changed the block calculation
Oh,
now.
really? Oh, no.
That is
block
2
inflation
blocks. Sorry,
has been a real
Yeah.
problem. Let's see.
How much are the 256?
I want to
see.
say it's $100.
Mm.
But you can get. I just
64s are like 12.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
That would
so-
probably be adequate for a lot of people.
Yeah, and 256s are expensive because I think they're relatively new.
All right.
But 128s are like $20.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it's not
dude. Yeah, just get a 128. You will be fine.
40 somewhere. It's
Theoretically.
not. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Gosh, what if I'm still stuck on like the hardware revision thing? I hope there is a good transfer from one system to the other. Like this whole
I
like
hope that the
Yeah.
home console
Well,
and portable
yeah.
console thing, like that adds another wrinkle to
So
that.
the thing is, I just don't really see this as a portable. I think that the battery life and a lot of the other stuff, like yes, you can theoretically kind of make good on that Wii U concept in a way you couldn't before, but that's all it feels like to me. Like
it's an extension of the handle on the GameCube.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just yeah, you can take it around, but you're bringing power with you. You people that are like, oh, it won't fit in your pocket. It's like, don't worry, because you're gonna have to bring a fucking mountain of shit with you to keep it powered anyway. So, like, don't worry about it. Bring a bag.
It seems portable, like a laptop's portable.
Yeah.
It's not portable
Yeah.
like a 3DS.
Exactly.
It seems
Yes.
it seems like people like Hori or whoever will put out like here's your integrated carrying case with slots for everything you need.
I think Powerade actually released a bag just like that.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to home for the weekend or
Yeah.
on a business
Right.
trip or something, but probably not going to.
Or if you've got like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bag and you use the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm gonna get to work and plug it back into a charger anyway.
Right.
Or my
So-
commute is 30 minutes and I
Right.
get home and put it back on the
Yeah.
I've tried that though with 3DS and Vita, and I kind of never want to bother hauling that stuff out of my bag on the bus
Right.
when I've got a phone in my pocket that I can
Mm-hmm.
do easier stuff with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big is the tablet? Like, how is it conspicuous? Like, is it a massive?
I'm gonna say
screen?
like it's probably about that
Whoa.
that big.
All right.
I saw
So,
a
like, Wii U tablet?
somebody must have
There-
dragged.
Tatillo brought a
Yes,
Wii U
but that must have-
gamepad
that
to
must have been his-
party. They
that
took
must
a
have been
bunch of
his
pictures
photo.
of that and stuff.
They're side by side with the Wii.
Right.
U
Like I feel
controller
like
out
the
there.
screen is not that different. It's like 6
It's bigger. The screen is
Yeah.
bigger. I think I think they said it was just a hair smaller overall
Yeah,
than the Wii U
right.
controller, but the screen is definitely bigger.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it looked bigger in the comparison, but then again, maybe they're actually about the same.
That seems large.
But
to me.
well, then you're getting into like reasons why you wouldn't play a portable.
It's a
for
tablet.
Other reasons,
Like
right?
it's a tablet.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's a touch screen, and they showed 0 things that actually use the touch screen.
Presumably because the console doesn't have a touchscreen.
Right.
So
I
if
think
they're
the
trying to
only-
have parity.
The only footage of touchscreen use I saw in that presentation was like system menu navigation.
Right, and they
stuff.
only showed that for
Right.
like a second or
Yeah,
two, and
yeah.
it looked kind of clean and
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it? Could you like play it in an armchair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe that's a good use case. Someone else watching something on TV, like the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely that. And so I think it has a lot of use cases around that. It feels like they went out and built like a bunch of use cases around or different ways to use the Switch, and then they don't really have the software to back that up or in a way that makes sense, and they don't. The whole device feels very unfocused to me. And they showed it like, this supports all 3 modes of the Switch: docked, undocked, and then tabletop mode, which is when you flip out the kickstand and you've got the controllers. And so you can like just take those controllers and just hold them in your hand and not slide them in anything and just play that way if you want to be a weirdo. Like it's doable, but it's weird.
But like that's how every Nintendo console has been since the Wii. It's like, here's a bunch of ideas. I don't know. Do what you want with them.
The thing I would say is that in the past they've had at least one game that really super made good on those on all of those concepts in a way that framed it and made it make sense. 1-2 Switch is their attempt at that game, but I feel like 1-2 Switch is like it's a concept that I think when you get it out into the real world, you will not be able to use that the way they say that you're going to be able to use it.
Also, it's not a pack-in, is it?
No, that's like a $50. Like that's a damn near full price game.
Was Wii Sports a pack in North
Yes.
America?
Yes,
it was. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't Europe.
I
Yeah.
It wasn't in Japan.
I don't know that the Wii U was
I think you're right.
as successful as that as the Wii was.
Nintendo Land, I thought, did a pretty good
It was
job.
okay.
It was fun.
Nintendo Land was okay, but it was no Wii Sports.
Just like, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think my shock about the Switch presentation was just how much of it was devoted to them trying to recapture the magic and the sales of the Wii.
Yeah.
And how much of it was not focused on them kind of doubling down on what their strengths have been over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And just saying, hey, we've made a thing that's really good at playing the type of games we tend to make.
And which I'm totally with you because it also seems like that's what they've been telling us for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
It was almost like this like broadside, like, wait, we're motion controls again?
Like we're back on
Yeah.
this shit.
I
Like,
was
wait a
so
minute,
shocked.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
So
I could not believe when
it feels like
they came
for
out with
something
that.
that's supposed to kind of bridge the gap between their handheld line and their console line. It feels like it's way more of the console stuff and not enough of the 3DS. Like not enough of those type of games getting announced, not enough of like that style of game being shown. Instead,
Maybe they, like you, are not confident in its ability to be a mobile device.
the thing is, for me, it's not about those games being mobile. It's about those games being like a little less expensive to make because of how the camera angles and the sort of stuff that they're the assets and all that shit. It's more like just the style of game, the kind of longer, slower RPG, the puzzle game, like a Picross, like a Rhythm Heaven, like this sort of stuff that feels very much at home on the 3DS, but would certainly have worked on the Wii U. Like I was hoping to see a software lineup that reflected all ends of Nintendo's software development, and instead it felt like Mario and Zelda, and then a bunch of motion control shit, and the third-party stuff just being like completely
RPG
lost.
stuff and
I mean some stuff that is right at home. Instead, I came away from that thing looking at it going like, well, I guess the Vita's dead. Like they've made a really good Vita killer,
Right.
because they'll have a way better first-party software lineup than Sony can ever have.
Yeah.
And they'll probably suck up a lot of the Japanese third-party games that would have been Vita games.
Okay. And hopefully they'll go after a lot of the indie games that get ported to things like the Vita as well.
I think that is definitely part of their approach.
a lot of the like $15 to $20 stuff on Steam that ends up coming over.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, like I like that thing in a sense. Like I think that what they're doing is not like broken or like everything they showed works. Like I didn't come away from it going like, well, this is terrible. Every single thing that I tried was at least okay, but a lot of it I came away from it going like, okay, well I don't know that I ever need to play ARMS ever again. It's not to say that ARMS is not functional. Like the controls absolutely work. The virtual on style motion control stuff they came up with, I think it makes sense. But I don't, and like that game also supports a regular controller, which some people were like, oh, good. It's like, no, that game
needs that.
Without that, there's really nothing to it. So like with the motion control, at least you're kind of punching out and turning to aim your fists as it springs out, and that's kind of a neat thing the first couple times you do it. I don't think putting that on a controller and saying like, oh, now it's much easier to control, which I don't think would be the case. I don't think that makes that game any better.
So how much of this would you ascribe to historical launch lineup blues of there's nothing out at the beginning of this console?
Well, they showed like Mario's not out until holiday, so they showed stuff that was well past launch. So I think the software lineup is definitely weak right now. But I think the problem is it's not the number of titles. Like, Zelda looked like it could be a Game of the Year contender. Who knows? I don't know. If you're into item durability and that sort of stuff, then cool. If not, you're going to be probably bummed out by some stuff in that game. But I just played the first 20 minutes of it again. Same basic demo that they showed at E3. It's I don't know. It looks cool.
But you are lamenting the lack of like a singular game that like encompasses the focus of.
Well, it's got so many features. I don't know if it's really realistic to expect.
You're right, but
one game to do everything.
So they're telling their stories about like, oh, you can bring this device with you, and you can take the controllers off and hand it to someone, and then you're both playing Mario Kart on an airplane or wherever you are. But that right Joy-Con, when you take it off and turn it sideways, the analog stick is in the middle of the pad, and it's supremely uncomfortable to use in a way that I think is going to inspire. Like kids will be fighting over who gets the good controller. Like they've created that type of situation because that one on the right is no good.
You don't think they'll be fighting over who gets the red and the blue?
No. Well, you'll want the red one, I guess. Red on the left, right?
I don't know
by default. Anyway, whatever. I bought gray.
Oh, you pre-ordered already?
Yeah.
Did you have
I did too.
Oh, you got one? Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
me
Did
too.
Did you all get gray?
I thought about
think
canceling
it's-
my pre-order
yeah.
over the weekend.
Really?
Like I've kind of just like I just I don't know. I don't really. Anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. The point being is like they're building these use cases about like, oh, sharing the joy. Here you go. But then that controller that you're handing to someone fucking sucks. And so I'm sitting there playing
Keeping the
Mario
joy
Kart
for
with
yourself.
it. Yeah. Or you're creating a situation where someone's trying to fight to get the good controller, or you're bringing way too expensive pro controllers with you wherever you go to mitigate that problem. You've got an audio game in 1-2 Switch,
Right.
where it's really about you listening to someone saying, for that quick draw game, it's 1, 2, it's ready, draw. Like you need to hear that very clearly to know what you're doing. And there's a ping pong game where you don't look at the TV in that game. They actively tell you multiple times, don't look at the TV, because you're listening to the sounds of ping pong balls and swinging accordingly.
So your aim doesn't matter, just your timing?
No, it's just timing.
Huh.
And so you can hit buttons on it to hit it faster or hit a lob, and that will change the sound effect so the other player knows when to react.
Huh.
So it's like that's almost rhythm heavenish in a weird way.
Yeah.
But it's all reliant on you being able to hear that stuff extremely well. And then they're like, bring it to a party. And you're like, okay, I'm going to bring this tablet
silent
with
party.
this small ass speaker on it to a party, and then tell, hey, everyone, shut the fuck up! We can't hear the balls. Like, what is that? Like, that's like their whole pitch for it just seems completely invalid based on that.
Well,
unless you're going to very quiet parties.
Yeah.
Like the.
I mean, that's like too many games in one title, though. It's not necessarily
Every single one of those games is audio based.
Okay.
The whole point of the game, the whole point of that entire game
across
is
the
don't
board
bother
is
looking
don't
at
look
the
at the TV. Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Every single game they showed us, was based on that. The whole concept seems to be, here's a game that you don't need to look at the TV to play.
Did they seem from watching the streams? They all looked also like kind of like WarioWare games, where like they're fun to play in tandem, but like I'm not going to play any one of these games for like more than 20 minutes. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
Ever.
No, that's yes. I milked the cow, and
Right.
a lot like ARMS. Like, it's neat. Like it's a good little tech demo for the stuff that they're doing. But at no point did I feel from any of the 4 mini games I played in 1-2 Switch, none of them were like, oh man, I got to get this. Oh man, I can't wait to show this to this person.
Right.
You could almost envision it fitting a Jackbox Party Pack kind of lane of that kind of party game. But again, I think that there's reliance on audio then requires you to be having a very quiet party. And I think that's
Or having a party at your house hooked up to your TV.
exactly, yeah. Or hooked up to a TV. Like they had it hooked up to a TV there and turned up, and they were like, yeah, I mean, you can just play this wherever, but because it's so loud here, we needed to hook it up to a TV and do it.
And you're like,
And I'm like,
Wow, you're just proving your own point.
Well, you're not going to have 30 other Switch kiosks in your room.
you
you're
couldn't
playing
hear
it.
any of them.
Yeah.
You didn't hear video games in that room. You heard people recording videos for their YouTube
Well,
channel.
right, but I mean that's not the conditions at your home.
No,
is
it's
what I'm
not.
saying.
But
Like,
but you know,
that's kind of an extreme.
What you heard
scenario.
was chatter in
Yeah.
an echoey room. So yeah, I mean, your parties are not going to be maybe that loud, but still probably loud enough that where the tablet itself is not going to be able to be louder than the party.
Yeah. 1-2 Switch might be a flimsy kind of use case for these features, but I don't know. I feel like they've been pretty good historically about justifying their weird hardware decisions with cool games.
I mean, the Wii U.
Generally.
I don't think Nintendo Land really fully made the case. Like,
Yeah, I guess the
like
Wii
that
U
came
is-
out and you're like, oh, this is novel, and
Yeah.
we played Nintendo. Like I was more excited about the loading screen menu music in Nintendo Land than anything that was in that game.
I guess like the outside of Mario Maker, the Wii U is kind of a weak example
Yeah.
of that.
Like
Yeah,
Zombie
but-
U is probably maybe
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a decent one at launch
Yeah.
for that stuff, but like that was it.
Let's get through the rest of the bullet points here before we move on to all the games that you played. I guess let's talk about the controllers a little bit more. Besides there being red and blue options, so it's only the right one that has this infrared business. Is that right? So it has.
I think that's the case.
It looks like so. It's basically some kind of infrared from what I could get from the stage demonstrations for hand gestures. Is that right?
Yeah. So what they were showing. So yes, what they showed during the presentation was the idea that you would be able to gesture in front of it and it'd be able to tell rock, paper, or scissors.
Okay, so we can see kind of finger
They then
movements.
went on to not show a rock, paper, scissors game, but I suspect that's in 1-2 Switch or something somewhere. The one thing I didn't get to play it, but I saw it on their stream the following day. Was someone doing sandwich eating in 1-2 Switch and holding the controller up to their mouth and then going ma 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 ma
Okay.
to eat sandwiches.
All right.
So that seems like that would maybe be a use of that.
But if that's only on one controller, then that's not a 2-player game.
Yeah, at the end of it, you're scored, and I think you hand it off to someone else.
Okay.
So
Mario Party 11 is going to be weird.
yeah, totally.
Oh boy. Let's see. So yeah, the right Joy-Con has the infrared thing. The other one has basically a share button, like the PS4.
Yeah, so that's for screenshots,
Yes.
and video will come later.
Okay.
They said.
Okay.
Screenshots of the game that you don't use the television screen.
Yeah.
And also that one will do amiibo stuff. It has NFC
Cool.
in it.
New Amiibo's coming.
I guess. Yeah.
Zelda.
I saw that
yeah.
Breath of the Wild amiibo was gigantic.
Oh, really?
It's like that spider boss looking thing
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
these giant legs sticking out of it, and I think it's very expensive.
Oh, is that actually an amiibo, or is
I
that
thought
just,
it was.
I think that's just
Or
a
is that just
statue
a
that comes with
figurine?
the collector's
Oh, okay.
edition. I
saw-
don't know that that's
I saw
actually.
people on Twitter were referring to it as an amiibo. Maybe
That would be
that's-
neat, but
okay.
I don't know. I guess I don't know one way or the other.
Maybe it has the chip in it to
maybe,
give
yeah.
it that functionality.
Amiibo's giants.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that. And then they both have what Nintendo referred to as HD Rumble.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Is that just haptic feedback, or
I guess.
did you try that?
So no, that 1-2 Switch was the only game that seemed to have that in it, and the one game they were showing, which we didn't. So like they were just running people through demos, and whatever you got to see, you got to see. So there was one in there where you had to hold the controller and roll it around in your hand and try to figure out how many balls are inside the box you're holding.
Huh.
Okay.
And that was the one use of HD Rumble that I saw,
Yeah.
and I saw people doing it and
Yeah.
getting it right. So I presume it's
Right.
more higher fidelity than we think of most feedback being. But I didn't try anything for myself that,
Okay.
that felt any different or anything like that. So that seemed like the one thing they were showing. But yeah, again, we were not able to play that.
They're selling all this stuff. You can buy extra Joy-Cons, $50 a pop,
80
or two for 80.
For 80.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can save $20 if you want to buy a second pair.
Pro controllers,
which
pretty
for
meaty as
ARMS
well.
to play ARMS split screen.
You need more.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
you would
Two.
each person needs 2, or you're using a Pro controller at that
or,
point.
or they can bring theirs if they also have a Switch.
Sure.
Yeah, and then the Pro controller is $70.
The Pro controller apparently has NFC in it, which
okay.
seems like a bad. I don't know, unless they're dramatically changing the way amiibos will be used on this platform to where multiple people might need their own NFC sensor. I really don't understand why they would put that in there.
Well, the Wii U tablet had it.
Right. But like you tag those things in and out. It's not like a Skylander where you have to leave it on the portal the whole time.
Right.
It's always been tag in.
But if you've got it docked, you don't want
tag
to
to
go up
write
to your
it.
television or wherever it is.
Right.
Yeah, but presumably if it's docked, you're holding the controller that came with it. Or you could
those
just
also have
yes,
NFC?
that's where the
Oh,
NFC
okay.
is. So the Pro controller, you could probably get away with making those not $70 or whatever they are, right? It's
But
70.
what if you had your Joy-Cons in the dock too and were playing with the Pro controller?
Then you would have to get up. But that's okay, because that's how infrequently you use amiibos in those games.
Well, I mean, who can say if NFC actually makes that controller a lot more expensive? Or
I guess not. I guess I don't know.
That might not be.
But
a big thing.
The controller seems expensive.
Yeah, but it is.
When you look at
expensive.
the way they've used amiibo in the past, I don't see a need to have every controller have its own NFC touch point.
$70 is a lot. For
But
a
maybe
controller.
they've got bigger ideas.
Ooh, what if that's how you pair them with the console? That'd be nice. Just boop.
That's cool. That,
Yeah,
that would
that'd be
be
cool.
that would be a neat idea.
Yeah.
Let's see.
How do you pair them with the console?
No idea.
Right.
Yeah, I pushed the home button on every single one that I got up to, and none of them had the home menu enabled, so
I would hope.
we couldn't really see anything.
I would hope with the Joy-Cons, just sliding them on there would
But
be
what
enough,
if there's-
enough to pair it. But who knows?
If there's a second person playing though,
Right.
Yeah,
Would they
actually,
just,
yeah.
like, go up and go
So
slide
there
it
was a
over?
case for at the Mario Party 8 or the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe menu, you had to push basically the left trigger to kind of tag your controller in,
okay.
and because so they've got, when you've got the Joy-Cons, that's L and R, and that's ZL and ZR as your L2 R2 equivalent. So if you hit L and R, it thinks you're holding the controller that way. If you're going to play sideways, you need to hit SL and SR, which are the shoulder buttons that are inside that rail.
Oh right.
The sideways left and right triggers. And when you hit them that way, then it knows you're holding the controller that way, and the menu orients to work that way and all that other
was
stuff.
that intuitive?
No. Well, I'll put it this way. I didn't have a problem with it. Dan was completely lost.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, no, you need to back out and do this again because it thinks you're holding the controller that way, and that's why this is backwards.
Is Dan a use case for? Dan is a use case for people who went through the witness without. That blew my fucking
Oh
mind.
man.
That blew, I screamed at my phone. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Unique snowflake.
I guess the only other really relevant piece of information here is that this thing is not region locked for the first time.
Yeah, which they
For a
put
Nintendo
pretty
console.
upfront in their presentation
It's
in
like
a way
second
that,
piece of information.
They made a big
right,
deal out
it
of
was
it.
kind of weird.
It seems like the kind of thing that would usually be buried in a press release, but they came right out and said, "Hey, it's region free."
Which you would hope that would then the knock-on effect of that would be like, we're localizing all these games at the same time, so they're going to come out worldwide, and we're going to stop jerking people around on release dates and stuff. So
Yeah. That would be nice.
That's going to make a big difference, I wonder, for the UK import market, because it looks like all that stuff's getting a little bit pricey, and obviously the
Right.
pound is tanking a little bit at the moment, and so I mean,
wonder if
who
it-
knows?
does it end up getting cheaper to import at some point?
At that
If
stage,
the-
I wonder. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they did not announce the
European-
UK
yeah.
price. They're like, check with the local retailers on that one. It's on fire over there.
we don't want to have to say the number.
Yeah.
The date is the same, right?
The date is the same.
Okay.
You
Worldwide?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what they said, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
This-
right,
you're
yeah.
right. This does say worldwide.
And
yeah.
pre-orders went up, and I think the price is out there now. But
I think pre-orders, there was a delay on them
yeah,
in the UK. Sometimes they don't, because there's so many different markets in Europe that
Right.
they're like, because like stuff in
Yeah.
France is usually more expensive than Germany and all that. But
Yeah.
they usually give a UK price
right.
as a sort of a trend, like the sort of, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I guess they just I guess Apple just raised a lot of their App Store prices. I just
Right.
was reading this morning because of the pound tanking so hard.
The MacBooks, the ones that came out in November, were like unbelievably, like they're not selling because they're just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's always a premium outside of America
Yeah,
for
of
that stuff
course,
anyway,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit worse at the moment.
All right, that's kind of the big rundown of all the information they announced about the Switch. Let's take our first break here, and then we'll come back and talk about all those games.
All right, it's Blue Apron time.
What does that mean?
That means food coming to your door.
Oh man, I don't even have to get up.
Well, you should probably get up to answer the door if the delivery is there.
Yes, I can walk from the couch to the door if you're going to bring the food that far.
Okay, well then you can bring the food in from the door into your kitchen and use these ingredients to easily and quickly prepare yourself a fresh meal.
Dump it all in a pot and hit the button, right? That's it?
Each individual recipe is going to come with its own instructions.
Oh, so I have to learn? That's what you're saying?
You will learn. It's
Okay.
not that you have to learn, it's that you'll come out of this learned
Okay.
about how to make these dishes. Do you want to hear some of the January dishes?
I sure do.
Of course you do. Here we go. Strap yourselves in. Seared pork chops with farro and cranberry chutney.
Pork chops are good.
Pork chops are good. Spaghetti squash. Spaghetti
I've
squash.
heard things about spaghetti squash.
And marinara with mushrooms and garlic knots.
Garlic nuts.
Garlic knots.
Nuts.
Normally you got to call a pizza place for garlic knots or something. They'll bring this to your door.
Yeah, garlic knots in the home.
But you get to make it yourself.
Oh.
How about that?
Okay.
Spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage and furikake.
And just talking funny talk now.
This funny talk is going to turn into not funny food.
There's nothing funny about tasty food.
No, there's nothing
Yeah.
funny about tasty food. Actually, there is something funny about
yeah.
tasty food.
Okay.
Quinoa.
Yeah.
It's not spelled the way it sounds.
No.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/bombcast. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/bombcast. How about that? Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
And we're back. All right, let's talk about the games on the Nintendo Switch.
Video
Let's.
games
Yeah.
and audio games.
I believe they are making some.
Right.
Oh.
Jeff, I don't know if there's much more you want to say about 1-2 Switch. It is not a launch game. Or I mean, I'm sorry, it's
No.
not a pack.
It's not a
It-
pack.
It is a launch game. I'm
game.
sorry.
I was going to
Yes.
say, wait, no, there are no launch
It
games
is.
now.
It
What are we
is a
doing?
launch game. It is not a pack-in, is what I meant to say.
Right, yeah.
Because it looks like this generation's Wii Sports or,
Yeah.
or
Right, but
Nintendo Land.
it is
but
not. It is not packed in.
It is not packed in.
Probably should have been because I think it can illustrate one of the ways to use that device.
Yeah. Did they say how much it is? Is it
I
full
think
price?
I think it's full price.
Okay.
It might be 50 instead of 60.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I don't
well,
know
then,
for
fine.
sure.
Sure.
That stuff's been kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Or that stuff I think is nailed down, but I have not seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, 1-2 Switch. If there's like 60 games in that, and they can come at you very rapid fire, I think that's cool. If there's 10, that's a real problem.
What you want is a new WarioWare? Is that what you're saying?
Always. I mean, that's always what I
Dun,
want.
dun,
Yes.
dun, dun, dun.
How many did you play?
4. There were 6 in the build.
Right.
We played 4.
And there was no sense of like whether it is like 30 games or 10 or
No, they didn't show any. They had to reboot that whole thing to switch games.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Oh, man.
yeah, with
Alright.
the state of that build, I guess, or which who knows. But it seemed like they were very much like pulling it out, doing stuff to it. Like, okay, now here's the next game, and maybe they're just going to a debug menu or something. But yeah. That thing's got like all the stuff from the presentation that had like real humans in it. That's all in the game. So like
right.
those are the tutorials for how to play each individual game.
those
before you
videos?
start. All those videos and those little vignettes, which I thought was cool. Like
Yeah.
it's got a style to it.
That's neat.
That I can at least appreciate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. 1-2 Switch. Again, like it feels like them trying to lean into this motion control thing that I feel like has completely escaped them now. And it feels like them trying to grasp back onto it a little too late, and with something that it doesn't feel very advanced compared to what they've done in the past. Like motion control, I feel like
I don't know if you heard the Rumble is HD now.
oh well, if it's high definition Rumble, that changes everything.
4K Rumble.
I
or
I
get the
very
fuck
much
out.
want to feel the power of HD Rumble for myself. It's easy to clown on it because that's such a dumb thing to say out loud. HD Rumble, but
Is it running 60 as well? Because I don't want 30 frames a second. HD
yeah,
Rumble.
I guess I don't know. Yeah. But you know, when I bought this phone that doesn't have a real button on it and pushed it and it felt like it was a real button, I was like, "Fuck, dude." So if they've got that stuff, could be cool. Most games probably won't have a good use for it, but that stuff could be cool.
All right. before we talk about the other stuff you played, I have a list in front of me of every game that is announced for this thing so far.
Yeah.
And when it's coming out. So
All right. I
will-
would love to hear that.
Okay.
Can we start with just launch games?
Yes, this is in order.
Okay.
This is in release order. So
Okay.
March 3rd, which is the Nintendo Switch release date.
Yeah.
There will be 1-2 Switch, Zelda, Skylanders Imaginators, which is
Yeah.
last year's game. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or yes. And that was there.
Okay. Just Dance 2017.
That was also there.
Anybody? And Super Bomberman R.
That was also there.
That's a downloadable game though.
No, that's
Or
my understanding is that is also a full price game.
Oh, really?
I think everything will be a downloadable.
What?
game.
Everything
Right,
is-
we,
yeah,
we
yeah.
live in the future.
What is that?
Is that a new Bomberman?
They're making a new Bomberman game that will support up to 8 players.
Okay.
Oh my god!
It,
For $500 worth of
Yeah.
controllers.
it ran very poorly.
Hmm.
It did not look
Right.
good. It didn't
Oof.
feel particularly great.
Are we talking like Bomberman, or like
yeah.
something weird?
Yeah,
okay.
it's top down
Full on.
Bomberman.
Yeah.
Like it's multiplayer. It's
Okay.
it has a multiplayer kind of campaign also where it's like the single player Bomberman of you blowing up
Yeah.
enemies, but you have another person with you.
Kangaroos.
I did not see anything to
Hmm.
ride, which I appreciate because I feel like the series got bad when they started giving you dinosaurs and kangaroos and stuff.
Mega Bomberman.
Yeah, best one,
is
best
a
one.
heck of a game.
Bomberman
best one.
93. Anything
Also
past that,
a
whatever.
game?
Actually,
No.
Saturn Bomberman and
cut
Bomberman
off.
93. That's it.
Act Zero.
And Act Zero, of course, naturally. That game had a pop up when we died that said, "Hey, you have 50,000 coins. Would you like to spend 3,000 of them to continue?"
Wait,
I don't know what that will mean for the overall product.
maybe
and
that's
all-
not a full price.
No, my understanding is that it definitely is.
Okay.
So it may just be that they're limiting continues that way instead of like, hey, you only have 3 continues. Maybe it's just something you have to earn. I don't really know.
That was a Bomberman level, not a system level.
That was a
notification?
Bomberman level. It was
Okay.
not play coins. It was not do jumping jacks to continue. It was,
Did at any point were you recommended to go outside?
no.
Okay.
No, I did not. I'd never.
Maybe you didn't play long enough.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, Bomberman felt choppy. Like the performance didn't feel
Weird.
good. It just the movement didn't feel like a good frame rate.
Did it feel like those
and it-
Xbox Live Arcade Bomberman ones that came out? Because that was
Kinda.
They were like 3D engine but 2D perspective, and they always felt
So
like,
this was weird because when you're playing, we didn't actually play pure multiplayer. We played the campaign thing and saw a little bit of the multiplayer. When you're playing the single player stuff, it will kind of zoom in and out depending on where the players are, and it actually skews the level in this weird isometric way that feels like wrong and bad. And it'll kind of move around depending on where the two of you are in the level because it's just trying to keep both of you on screen. But when you see screenshots of Bomberman at this like kind of jaunty angle, like understand that it's not always like that, but it's still not great. So yeah, I don't know. Konami's making it, which is weird.
I'm sorry.
that's
I mean,
what they're
Konami
doing.
is Bomberman. Like
Yeah,
that's
they-
yeah,
of course.
they bought
Oh.
Hudson, and
Yeah.
that's them. I don't know if they're developing it or what, but they are publishing that game, and it seemed bad.
Later in March, after launch, they have I Am Setsuna listed. Snipper Clips.
Snipper Clips is awesome.
That
Yeah.
looks really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Snipper Clips?
Snipper Clips is so this was shown years ago at a game jam under the name Friend Shapes.
These are both great names.
And yeah, I think I prefer Friend Shapes in somewhere. But Snipper Clips is just fun to say. Also, I can never remember that the name of it is Snipper Clips. It's just like, what the fuck is it? Snip Clippers?
It's like a San Francisco
No.
startup.
Yeah,
like,
basically. Just take all the E's out and ship it. Okay, so this is a 2-player cooperative game, and it was weird because when they pitched the game, like they had Reggie up on stage briefly before they kind of set us loose.
Snip the clips.
Yeah, he just said snip the clips over and over again, and then started punching a guy, and I was like, "Fuck, dude!" Like, no.
This game's awesome.
It's like, oh, it starts out cooperative, but gets a little bit competitive. And I'm like, no, like after playing it, I'm like, it only gets competitive if you want to do poorly because it's like 2 players trying to achieve a goal. But so you are 2 characters. You have, it's like a square, but with one rounded end coming out.
Okay.
So 3 kind of square edges and then 1 roundy round.
Okay.
And you can use the shoulder buttons. This is with the rotated Joy-Cons to, and I'm sure you could use a Pro controller if you had it. You can use that to rotate your shape around, and you can also use the analog stick to walk around and duck and stuff. And you can also jump. You also have a cut button. You overlap with the other character, hit the cut button, and it takes away part of their shape.
Oh.
So you are kind of building shapes to solve puzzles. So in one
right.
case, there was a There's a button you press that makes a basketball fall from the sky. You need to get that basketball across the screen into the hoop. And it's like, okay, well, what shapes should we cut ourselves into to make that work? Or like, hey, there's a pencil sharpener on one side of the screen. There's a pencil on the other. We need to get the pencil end of this pencil, not the fucking eraser end, which we kept getting in there, no problem.
Reichard.
You need to get the pencil end in there. So it's like, okay, we need to cut ourselves down so that I'm like a ramp so I can get under this pencil and pick it back up. Then when it's picked up, you get under here, you jump on top of me, get this and do this. And cool. That was really awesome. That felt really good. It's the rotation on the character maybe was a little slow. Some of the stuff took a little longer than maybe it should have, just in terms of the movement and stuff. But in terms of it, like, hey, here's this series of kind of weird physicsy sort of 2D puzzles. I think it has a nice look. I think it controls really well. It's the one thing I played there that I'm like, I definitely would appreciate more time with this one.
Yeah, I just pulled up some screenshots of that. That looks fun and creative.
Yeah.
Is that full price too?
I don't actually know. I don't know that it is. And that's Nintendo picked it up at some point, so they're publishing this, I guess.
Oh, okay. So it's an exclusive, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear they're going out and signing some deals.
I guess so. Yeah,
going after some small time.
But yeah,
stuff
this
like
got
that.
shown at some GDC Game Jam thing, like in 2013 or something.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it, but as soon as it resurfaced, there were people that were like, "Wait a minute, I played this game years ago." And you go back and look at the footage, and you're like, "Oh, that's all those games I just played. All those little individual scenarios are totally right there." In almost the exact same format. So one would hope that they've got a bunch of situations for you to play through.
Yeah.
But yeah, snap claps is pretty good.
Yep. Keep an eye on
No,
it.
what's the subtitle? It's Snipper Clips, cut it out together.
Huh. Okay.
Is
This
the full title.
This list just says snipper clips. But
Yeah. Cut it out together.
just in case you needed to make that name more ridiculous. Yep. Also in March, Has Been Heroes and Fast RMX. I don't know if you saw those.
Fast, I think, is a racing game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a sequel to No More Heroes? Or a
No, they are.
No, but they did announce a No More
like
Heroes.
Suda got
sequel.
out on stage and kind of said Travis Touchdown's coming back.
Yeah. Or did they ever use the words No More Heroes? They just said
No.
Travis Touchdown.
No.
Mentioned something about like being influenced by wrestling, but like professional wrestling.
okay.
So
But
I'm
there's
not sure what they're
That
going for.
game.
Grasshopper games have had wrestling moves in them for years.
Sure.
So it's hard to
But
know
to
what
like
that means,
include
but,
that sort of like reference in
yeah.
like their introduction.
I mean, Suda has a background in making actual, honest to God, wrestling games.
that's true.
It's always possible that he is going to finally make a good ass wrestling game. I think the game he made is the one where the protagonist killed himself at the end of the story. It was a Super Famicom game.
The Wrestler?
Yeah, that's the one.
Whatever that game is, it's not even on this list of 2017 games. So
Right, yeah,
that's
Has
a ways
Been
off.
Heroes is different.
Has Been Heroes is a different thing. I
What
think,
is
I think
that?
the Grasshopper game is like not. They probably haven't even started
Yeah,
on that.
yeah,
right.
that's probably a long ways off.
So what is Has Been Heroes?
I don't actually know.
All right.
Yeah, this list this is just a big fat list.
Okay.
The only game in April, which is on April 28th, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is just an enhanced version of Mario Kart 8 with
Any
more
new
stuff.
tracks and
New tracks, new characters,
Yeah.
all the DLC from the Wii U version.
Okay.
You can hold two items. That's, I
You
think
can hold,
that's-
you can hold two items.
Yeah.
So you'll actually see double stacked question marks on the track.
Oh my God,
and
double
that will
dash.
give you two power ups at the same time.
Okay.
yeah,
Double dash
double
is
dash
back.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff.
And
Those DLC tracks were great. The Zelda stuff.
Yeah.
All the
yeah,
they were really
people
good.
seem to like that stuff.
Yeah. Wish there was more of it actually.
Yeah, so this is more of it, and it will, as I understand it, will drop to 30 frames a second if you have more than two players playing at the same time.
Cool.
All right, good to know.
Buy a second controller.
But not a third,
No.
because then the frame rate. Yeah,
I think there's definitely room for stuff like this. As few people as there were that bought a Wii U.
yeah.
Like
This
I
makes
know
sense.
I know Nintendo fans who skipped the Wii U,
Right.
You know, and this gives them a chance to.
And by accounts from people who like Mario Kart, they seem to like that one a great deal. So
Yeah.
I have no problem with this style of reissue, and I fully expect that Smash will see a similar.
Yeah.
Like you'll see a Smash Brothers Deluxe to go alongside it.
Sure.
I bet they announced that at E3, but I don't know. I'm just making shit up now.
Sure.
That's what I would do. Go on.
Under the somewhat nebulous label of Spring, Sonic Mania, which is that 16-bit throwback, right?
Have you seen the special edition of that?
Yeah.
It's a fucking Genesis with Sonic standing on it. It's like
Yeah.
the weirdest
So
statue.
weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
All right, hang on.
Yeah.
I need to pull. I need to see this
Sonic
game.
Mania, like, not to fucking fall into the Sonic trap, but of all the Sonic games they've made since, let's say, Sonic 3,
Jeff, careful.
or Sonic and Knuckles, This one looks like it's finally actually maybe adhering to that in a way that people might appreciate. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
Is it a brand new Sonic game
Yeah.
that looks like those?
Yeah.
Because I saw the
Which is what
screenshots and
Sonic
I just
4 kind of should have
was-
been,
well,
but
yeah.
sort of was, but
But
not
it seems like
really.
this one is maybe actually going to be a lot more faithful.
People seem excited about this game in a way that, like Sonic people who have played it are coming away from it going like, okay, they're finally actually doing the thing you wanted Sonic 4 to do.
They brought people in on this project from the community who had like reverse engineered old Sonic games.
Yeah,
and built their own Sonic like 2D engine to replicate the movement of
I
the
think
old Sonic
is
games.
this
and
Christian
stuff.
Whitehead in
Yes.
on this? So
Yes.
he did those Sonic CD ports to phones and stuff like that,
Right.
and
So
you know, like they've got people who give a shit about Sonic.
As someone who bought the Japanese version of original Sonic the Hedgehog while I was in Japan,
nice.
I'm pretty excited about what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Sonic Mania has.
But
a
I've been
look to
burned
it.
before,
Yeah,
Jeff.
no, exactly.
Oh,
Everyone has.
wow, this looks great.
Yeah, it seems to have the potential to finally be the Sonic throwback that people want.
Yeah.
This I saw this in like along with everything else and assumed it was just a Sonic remake.
Yeah.
So it
but it's
actually
just like.
because it looks faithful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And so this is the thing they announced back at that weird live stream Fever Dream fucking Pizza Fest thing that they had at fucking Comic-Con or whatever, where they had people pay to get into some like 20th anniversary party, and then like the dudes came out and played all the music.
all right.
Did you see any of this?
No, that sounds like
fucking
some Comic-Con
nightmare?
bullshit.
Yeah, there was
Fuck,
a stage,
dude.
there was a weird stage show.
You should go back and watch that thing because it was hours long and it was insane. And it was all about Sonic, and they got out there and said like, "Hey, here's Hello Kitty. I don't know, Sonic Hello Kitty clothes coming
like,
soon. I don't know."
People in costumes and stuff.
yeah,
It was-
it's just
Was it a press conference or a party?
like I think
some of both. I think.
They made some announcements, but it was like people had paid to get in, and there were people there like cosplaying as
Sonic?
because they were walking off the fucking the Comic-Con show floor to go to this thing. I
Right.
think so. I think they may have just been dressed up as Iron Man. I don't know. Whatever. It was a weird thing, and then it was like sponsored by some pizza rolls or whatever. So it was just like this weird, awkward break in the stream where they're just like, "Here's some pizza over here playing Sonic Mania." It was just the whole thing. Whew. I'm glad that there was some independent verification that it actually happened because like I was starting to think that it was maybe just I was just freaking out.
You just had a bad pizza roll, and this
But then I
was-
saw
yeah.
Sonic Mania at this thing and went like,
Toxic shock.
oh no, like it was like it was happy and sad because I was like happy because I was like, oh good, I'm not crazy. Oh god, all that stuff
happened,
actually
yeah.
happened. Anyway, Sonic
did.
Mania,
Not an exclusive.
No,
No, it's not.
this is
No,
coming
no,
to
no.
everything.
and then the other Sonic game that they announced that thing what is also coming to Switch, like the
Yes.
and it's
Yes, but that doesn't have a date. That's just
Yeah.
this year sometime.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't even have a final title yet.
Right.
What Sonic game is that? 3D
It's
Sonic
like
game?
It's,
Yeah,
it's a
it-
full-on new 3D
Jesus
Sonic.
like
Christ,
so
Sonic
they had this
3D
whole,
Blast
this
too.
whole
happening?
live stream was like at the end of it they came out and kind of teased it, ran a quick little thing, and they're like and I was just like the idea that anyone would be excited for that, especially when they showed the like old Sonic. But they're okay. I think there are fans of like more of newer Sonic games out there. It's not just that people like after the Genesis came out. It's not just people who think they like Sonic Adventure and are wrong. Like there are people who actually like seem to really like a lot of the latter day
Right.
latter day
Like
Sonic
360
games.
ones and
I don't-
like
yeah.
the Werehog and
I guess,
But
I
it's
don't-
it's now at the stage where it's happened so many times that it's like past funny.
Yeah.
Like I just don't understand how it's still happening. Like, are these just selling? Is the
Yeah.
is the Sonic brand that good?
I think they. I mean, they still have that cartoon, so
people
they
are
still
buying
have a side door. They still have
That's
the
right.
comics. I think the Archie comic series is probably still running. So they theoretically have a side door for people. They have all that fan art.
How crazy that all the media spin-offs of the game is what's keeping the game alive.
Right. Yeah. I
Mario
don't-
and Sonic the Olympic Games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So they have that stuff that I think can help introduce kids to Sonic.
Mm.
And then you've got the scene of people that are still into Sonic, and they're probably all off drawing original characters right now.
Drawing slash fiction.
Do not steal.
Mm.
Go on.
All right. More games coming out for the Switch in the spring. Lego City Undercover. I don't know if that's just a port.
I think it's a remake of that
Okay.
game.
Okay.
Because
Well, it came out on the Wii U.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's multi-platform.
Okay.
That's not just Switch.
Okay.
It's like 3 years old now, though?
More than that, I think.
Is it
It was
really?
close. It was close to Wii U launch.
I remember that game having a ton of potential and
Yeah.
then coming out and people
Yeah.
going like, this isn't actually
Yeah.
what it looked like it could have been.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Also in the spring, Disgaea 5 Complete.
Hmm.
Rhyme, which is that kind of tropical-looking adventure game
Right.
from Tequila Works, I believe.
That's multi-platform as well. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
Arms is out in the spring,
Okay.
and Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Which-
that was the first Switch game I ever played.
It's a good one.
Is
Yeah.
that the first time it's been released in North America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So-
so they announced. So like basically, as soon as that stream was over out of Japan, I got a press release. So it's also coming to PS4 here in the States. The Xbox One version, for whatever reason, not coming over. On PS4, it will be.
Wait, it's coming out in Japan on Xbox One?
It already
It's
did.
already out in
I
Japan on
imported it.
Xbox One.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, so 6 people own that game.
Yeah.
Great.
And 2 of them are in this room. It will be physical only on PS4,
Man, that's a shame.
Weird.
and on Switch it will be physical and digital.
I would download that on the PS4.
So it must just be some rights shit
Yeah. That's
Okay.
sounds like legal
around
stuff.
that stuff. But yeah, they are bringing the PS4 version over as a
Okay.
physical edition.
That's better than nothing.
On top of that,
I'll take
so
I'm just glad it's coming at all.
and they're localizing it.
Yeah.
So English menus and I believe English voice as well. So you're
Yeah.
able to hear. We did not hear what the fish man sounds like in English.
There's a lot of story in that game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The lore is.
There is.
I know.
Like-
I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters say a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Under the banner of summer, the only game listed is Splatoon 2,
Played that.
which I was surprised because, the Mario Kart thing is just a kind of an enhanced port.
Right.
But Splatoon 2 is Splatoon 2.
Well, I wonder. I played 2 matches of it, and I didn't play enough of original Splatoon to be able to tell you. Like if any of the maps they were showing were old maps. I suspect that this is going to contain content that was in the previous game.
Okay.
Certainly weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're out
They're
there
doing
saying,
a lot
like,
of that new
new weapons, new
stuff.
fashion. Like
Yeah.
I tried, they got these dual pistol kind of guns that while you're shooting them, you can roll. So you have kind of a dive roll, like a dodge roll. That's kind of neat. That's another weird one. So the build they had was tilt controls only.
Oh.
On the, I mean, it was also hooked up to a TV.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was tilt still, because I played it on the unit itself. And so that creates a weird situation where you're tilting the thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was bad. I'm not a big tilt control guy for Splatoon anyway. I know everyone who plays a lot of it says that's the only way to play it because you can just paint a lot easier if you're whipping that thing around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had a hard time because I had never got good with the tilt control stuff. But then on top of that, the tilt control stuff being like the screen you're looking at was not a great way to play it.
Could you kickstand the tablet and just pull the controllers
Probably.
off and play
yeah,
it?
probably not the
that
one
way?
that was the one I played that was the most locked up and
Okay.
fucking
Okay.
encased in black metal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's another Splatoon game. I think it looked great. Like that was the game that that made me like look at the screen and go, "This screen is really nice."
Is it?
It's a really nice looking, sharp looking screen.
Great.
So I don't have any qualms about like the quality of the image on the tablet itself after playing that.
That's good to hear.
720p is enough resolution.
It seemed plenty sharp. And so that game doesn't have. So originally on the Wii U, the first game, you had the map at all times on the tablet, and you would touch a player to jump to them. You could jump from the spawn out to any one of the other players when you respawn. And so that was a touchscreen thing. Now it is a D-pad thing. So below the analog stick, it's not even a D-pad. It's 4 buttons. It's like a C stick, but not a C stick. It's the C buttons from the N64, basically. Masquerading as a D-pad. And you basically hit one button to bring up the map, see where everyone is. Everyone has a D-pad direction next to their name. Right. You hit that, then hit A to jump to them. So the functionality is still there, but they do it differently because it's not touchscreen. And maybe it will be touchscreen in the final release because that thing does have a touchscreen.
But kind of.
Yeah. I don't know.
So all the online stuff, you said that it's not going to be fully integrated until like October or something.
They said fall. They
Fall.
haven't given an
So
exact time
I
frame.
don't know what that thing. I don't know. It might just be like, oh, you can't voice chat until we roll out these features or whatever. But I think they will have some online functionality for that console day one, and it'll be free while they're still getting it together. So it might just be that you're not paying for this app, like or whatever.
Did they say if online play, if just straight up multiplayer is behind the paywall?
I guess they didn't, but
because according to this, I mean, this makes it sound like Splatoon 2 will be out before the final launch of the online service.
Right, yeah. But
So-
there will still be an online service there in some shape. It just won't be feature complete.
Well,
or
that's what I'm
whatever,
saying.
so-
If you didn't care about voice chat and the app and all that stuff, if you'd still be able to play Splatoon 2 online without paying for the service.
I have no idea.
It'll be
Yeah.
interesting
Once
to
it
see.
launches.
Yeah, it seems like they haven't clarified that yet.
Once it launches, you will certainly be able to play. But yes, once it switches over to a paid service, like what they'll gate, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that they've made that as clear as I would
Nintendo
like.
Live Silver.
Right. Yeah. I would probably have to get out and read a bunch of interviews just kind of see if anyone did pin them down on that one.
Yeah.
Because I don't know for sure.
Yeah. In the fall, you'll get your port of Skyrim.
Sweet.
If you're waiting for that. And then
What is that?
Like
I'll tell you about
they had
Skyrim.
Todd Howard on that
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah. He seemed excited.
But it was like, and now you take your adventure with you anywhere.
Mhm.
And like, this is after they've talked about battery life, and you're just like, no, I can't. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how this is going to work.
Yeah. And then holiday 2017, you will go on a Super Mario Odyssey.
Straight to New Donk City.
Did they? Nobody said that, right?
If
What?
it's written,
That name. Is that in the game?
It's
Yes.
in the game. Like, that's on
That's
the
actually
billboards.
the name.
yeah.
Wait, that's the name. The
Yeah.
actual name of the
Seen the
city.
It's on the
names?
license
It's
plate.
on
thought
the
it-
license plate.
I thought it was.
on-
Oh wow!
like there's a
I
street
missed that.
sign that says like Dixie, and you
Yeah,
know, like
okay.
like it's
Okay.
they're kind of clearly. I
Because
I would like to
Donkey
think that eventually you
Kong,
get
right?
to a point where Donkey Kong is the mayor of New Donk
Yeah.
City.
Okay.
He has to be.
Okay.
Hopefully there is a scene where he is climbing a fucking building.
It's like the end of Planet of the Apes.
that's his mayor's office on top of the
Right.
Statue of Liberty.
Bowser dressed up in a fucking pimp
Yeah,
suit.
that's pretty good.
Professional
The top
gentleman of leisure.
That is one of the weirder Mario games I have seen.
Yeah.
like
That
I
hat
don't-
is
I don't-
alive.
I don't know what to make of that thing.
The hat is called. What's it called? It's got Cappy or something.
Does it have a name?
Does it have a
has
name?
Did they actually nail it down? No.
It's on one of the billboards.
The hat appears to be alive.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
eyes, and they made it sound like the hat is a big deal.
Only things that are alive
That's-
have eyes.
Well, yeah. I think that looks really cool. I think that looks really awesome on two levels. One, it looks like all of the control and tightness and moves that you want from a 3D Mario game. The kind of run, turn around, jump. Some new shit with like throwing the hat out, jumping on the
jumping on
hat.
it.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah, you can kind of boomerang it
Yeah.
too to like
Yeah.
hit it.
Yeah,
enemies.
yeah. And then also the part where it looks like that 2006 Sonic the Hedgehog game. So it's like ironically amazing and then potentially also really amazing, which if they can nail all of that stuff, that'll be some shit, man. Wow.
So yeah, like you straight up leave the Mushroom Kingdom in this. Mario goes to the real world, and
I don't know that they say real world because that
No?
might not be Earth.
well,
we don't
what-
know.
okay, a more realistic world than you have explored in the past.
I've never been to New Donk City.
Yeah, no,
That's true.
It says a lot of it creates a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About the nature of Mario.
'Cause, I mean,
what is Mario?
Here you've got your cartoonish looking 3 foot tall Mario running
Yeah.
around next to a bunch of like normal sized humans.
Will he kiss the ladies?
Like it's jarring.
What if Mario is a human and these are non-humans?
that's what
right.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily get out there and say that that's Earth.
Okay.
They say he leaves the Mushroom Kingdom and goes up to faraway lands. Like the original Mario story is that he left Earth
Right.
and ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom.
He was a plumber in Brooklyn.
So he was from an Earth where he
Yeah.
looked
Wait,
like
what
everyone else, presumably.
What game was that in?
That Super Mario Brothers.
That was
The
straight
original
up is
the
Yeah.
story of Super Mario Brothers is that he ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom.
So wait a
so
minute.
he was
Where does-
born on Earth,
Yeah,
but he
he was a plumber.
Yeah,
By trade.
I mean, he
Documentary?
was a carpenter before that.
Oh, that's true.
okay.
Wait, so where does Donkey Kong take place?
That's the question. Did that take place in New Donk City?
Oh wow.
maybe
Oh, the whole
maybe he
time.
successfully climbed all those buildings
So this is a retelling.
and then claimed New Donk City as his own.
Maybe.
And
They
renamed
asked
it
Donkey
to
Kong
New
how
Donk
high
City.
can you get, and he said, "Fucking high."
Yeah.
Me and Redman. I just
Does it look like
Seeing
it's in
Mario-
the 40s as well or something? They're all wearing like
Kinda.
trilbies, but they also
Yeah.
have billboards.
billboards and these kind of older taxis and
Yeah,
it had a certain
it's-
style to it.
I don't know.
There were other worlds.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
it was
plenty
like a-
plenty
yes.
of like standard whimsical Mario looking places
Yeah.
as well.
And I
And
think-
like big ones too. It's like
so that, well they
not like Mario Galaxy where
Right.
It's a
yeah.
3D Mario,
so,
but
so
it's
they're
like more
likening this, and
contained.
I
They just-
think they're confusing some people because they're calling it a sandbox game, and then
Right.
people are like, "Oh, finally, open world Mario."
yeah, there's-
but that's not what this is.
Okay. Did you see more? You didn't see more of it at
No,
the event,
they didn't
right?
have any more of it there. But
Okay.
if you read the paragraph of text they put out, they said it's a sandbox game, returning to things like Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 64.
Okay.
Right.
Like they're not
Got-
making an open world Mario
Okay.
game. It will, presumably it will be a hub world, and you will go off into levels and do that sort of stuff. But it didn't
they're not linear levels like 3D Land.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got.
They're more open and you can explore.
Yeah.
This is what okay.
But it did still seem like there would be discrete levels. That's what I took away from it.
Okay.
We'll have to see more of it to know for sure. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm up for that game. I think that's cool. And I think they've done enough different looking stuff, and it looks fucking weird.
It is a new direction for Mario,
and
for
potentially
sure.
hilarious in ways that will be awkward and bad. And I'm all for that too.
Yeah.
If they can make good on that Sonic 2006 promise of like, look at this fucking insane shit, but also still have the game be good, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy. Mario fans, deviant art.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Sure.
there's plenty. Oh, man. I wonder how much that already.
Yeah, it's already happened.
And then beyond that, coming out this year, but without any specific dates attached to them, we've got the Sonic project, as mentioned, Steep, FIFA, NBA 2K18.
Steep is such a weird fit.
Yeah.
Steep is a game that has, on other platforms, Steep has a constant required server connection.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, right.
We know because we try to do a quick look of it, and I keep getting dumped off the server after about 3 minutes of play, and you can't play it unless you're connected to a server. So
Well, obviously they'll have to,
that's the question. Is like they'll
They
have to
can't.
refactor large parts of Steep.
because
I
they can't
imagine.
count on you being on Wi-Fi all the time,
right,
on this thing.
or they'll just require you to. I mean, I wonder if they will make an online-only game on that thing ever.
that would-
Presumably, they would have to expand the single-player offering of something like Splatoon 2 to account for people that wouldn't be paying for their online service.
or that might be on an airplane or just in a car.
Right.
Don't
I
have
don't know.
internet.
Then
Like-
don't play the Division or whatever.
Right.
Uh,
yeah.
FIFA, NBA 2K17, 18, I'm sorry. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Minecraft. They're doing a new Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah.
A second one of those.
Yeah,
cool.
2. So
Which
they
they showed-
did the first one, they did X, and now this is 2.
That's listed for this year. And then lastly, Jeff, what the hell is Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final
Oh,
challengers?
right, yeah. Oh, well, they also announced a Shin Megami Tensei game.
Yeah, I'm talking games that
Oh,
are
sure,
on
sure.
this list
Yeah.
for this year.
Oh, okay.
There are some other games like nebulously in the future.
Ultra Street Fighter 2.
Was it there in any capacity?
Yeah, I played it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's,
What is
So
it?
essentially like a port of like HD remix
Okay.
Yeah.
of sorts. So
Okay,
you
with
can
the
get-
same art?
Yes.
Yeah, with the same art, the same
Optionally.
Udon art, and optionally
Or you
go
can
back
switch
to the
back to the
original
old stuff.
sprites.
I wonder if I'm in the credits.
So they had,
Probably.
so they had it running. So they did not have that game in a state, from the looks of things, where you could switch back and forth between the art styles or anything like that. They had new art on one switch over here and old art on one switch over here.
Oh,
They've added 2 new characters,
newish.
Violent Ken and Shaggy 2 Ryu.
Mhm.
Are they? What are the actual characters?
Violent
Are
Ken
Violent
and Evil Ryu.
Okay.
Violent Ken was in SVC Chaos
Okay.
before, and here he just has Purple Fire and he has the Akuma teleport.
He's real mad.
He's very angry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ryu is evil.
Ryu is evil,
Okay.
in all the ways you expect.
Yes.
But other than that, it just seems like it's super turbo.
Okay.
We played it on Pro controllers. They did not have the option to play it. You could theoretically play that game on a Joy-Con, and that's another
Right.
one of those
Nope.
cases of like,
What's that D-pad they're going to be?
that's the thing, is when you're playing it on the sideways Joy-Con, you are playing with an analog stick,
Oh, all right.
4 face buttons and 2 shoulders. That's not a great way to play. That analog stick would not be good to play that game.
Yeah.
If you're playing it mounted to the Switch, then you've got a D-pad that is just 4 discrete buttons. Also, probably not a great way to play that game.
Yep.
It seems like they're trying to kind of evoke this feeling of like, oh, Street Fighter 2 was really important to the Super Nintendo because they've got the button mapping back to Super Nintendo by default, where Fierce is on left and Roundhouse is on right, as opposed to like that kind of
Yixel bar.
R1,
Yep.
that R1, R2 thing that they seem to do on most platforms these days.
Does the Pro controller have a D-pad?
Yeah.
Like an actual one
that
piece
has
D-pad?
a one-piece
Okay.
traditional Nintendo style
one-piece
D-pad
game
on
coming
it.
out?
Yeah,
And it worked all right?
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine, but like playing it, there was this. I definitely had this feeling of like, why would they?
Street Fighter 5's locked up.
It is, yeah.
You know, maybe they're
Is
not
this
quite ready to
exclusive to the
announce like a
Switch?
Tekken 7 type thing,
Have
or
they-
who knows?
This
They
is
need a fighting game.
The
besides
understanding is
ARMS.
that this is being built for the Switch.
Okay.
It's I like Street Fighter 2 a lot.
Yeah.
So
a good game.
I can't necessarily, and they've got the old art in there. I think the new art at the time. I don't remember hating it.
No, it's really
I thought
good.
it was fine, yeah.
thought it was good.
Yeah, it was
It's
But
excellent.
it might not have aged super well, Drew.
Mm.
Okay, I haven't looked at it in a while.
Looking at it now, we played the old one, and then I spent some time staring at the new one, and just kind of went like, oh.
where it's like a little too flat, not shaded
Yeah.
particularly well. Yeah,
Yeah, it's got a.
I could see where you might say it hasn't aged
It
particularly
has not.
well.
When you think about like what 2D fighting games can look like today, and
God,
sometimes
yeah.
do, you look at those and just go like, man.
Yeah, it's a weird inclusion for sure.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
And he mentioned a price on that thing.
I'm not clear on the pricing on a lot of this stuff. Some of that stuff is just straight up on Nintendo's site. Like I want to say that Snipper Clips is $20.
Okay.
Oh wow.
But I don't know for sure.
Okay.
That stuff was kind of all over the place, and pre-orders for software hadn't hit reliably, so it was hard to get a sense of like what retailers were going to ask for stuff,
The dates and prices on
or
all
what's
those
going to be
were-
digital only, and is that stuff
Yeah.
showing up anywhere?
I didn't pre-order any games
Yeah, no, I would.
because I assume that everything will be downloadable.
Yeah, I would expect that to be the case.
would hope.
Um,
There
I
was
just don't want to. You never know how good their downloadable service is going to be, though,
Yeah.
right? Are we
Yeah.
talking like sub PS4 levels
Right,
of
sure,
downloadable?
yeah.
Like
yeah.
that'll be a bummer on launch day.
But yeah, Ultra Street Fighter 2 just seemed, especially when you start to take into account like, oh, these Pro controllers are $70 a piece. Like, what are you doing? Like
yeah.
that's the only controller I saw that seemed like a legit way to play that game.
That's steep.
And no,
That's-
Steep is a skiing game. You
Yes,
can
very good.
do this parachute thing
Snowboard
too.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Bauman.
Violent Ken's in both of them though.
It's a lot to ask.
Yeah,
If you are a capital G gamer, maybe you would buy.
I almost passed out as soon as you
I'm
said that.
sorry. I should have lowered my voice. Maybe you, I don't know. Like, there are people out there who want to play the Zelda with a controller like that.
I mean, I
guess.
would want to play it with a
Yes,
controller like that. But I
I
wouldn't.
have no problem with the Pro controller, and
Yeah.
I see myself owning one. Because if you're playing 2-player games, you would detach the things and bolt them into the fucking grip, and then now we've got 2. But to buy 2 Pro controllers,
At the same time, like I bought the classic controller for Wii U and played Bayonetta with it, and that was it.
oh yeah, same
never-
here.
never touched it again.
I played Bayonetta with the tablet. I don't like the Wii U Pro controller at all.
I
This
think
Pro
it's
controller
fine.
I think feels better than that
Okay.
one. It's more substantial
And it's translucent.
It is. It's skeleton.
God, it looks
Is
like
it?
some
Yeah.
Xbox.
We're going.
original
We're
Xbox.
going back to some
Really?
like
Yeah.
Smoke. It looks like my third-party aftermarket
Yeah.
Dreamcast case that I bought.
You can see what's in there.
So that's pretty good. Yeah, it's that Ultra Street Fighter 2 thing seems, and I want to say the pricing. I feel like the pricing for that got announced and it was like insane, like 40 or something.
$80.
Like some kind
Whoa.
of
That's-
outrageous amount of money.
That's way more than HD Remix
I
was.
I feel like we should look this up because it's too crazy for us to not be able to say one way or the
See if
other.
I can find it.
Yeah, you've already got a laptop open, but like, I don't know. Like, I love Street Fighter 2. I played a ton of it on the Super Nintendo, but that game has been released in so many forms since then that I just,
You'd probably be like satiated with like a virtual console version of it instead, right?
yeah. I mean, they could just put out the arcade version
Yeah.
and be done. You know, it doesn't. Yeah,
It's kind of cool that they're trying to justify
right.
the,
It's- they've
like,
got,
the higher price
they've
tag
got
with
dramatic
the
battle
two-
in it too. That 2-on-1.
That is kind of cool. Yeah, we
Uh,
haven't seen that I think since like
since,
Alpha,
Alpha or something. Yeah.
Um,
But that's cool.
there's some
Once
interesting-
dramatic battle is neat
True.
once. So it's a fucking weird move.
any online play for
power
that one?
move.
Like I just saw
would,
the announcement.
I would
and kinda
assume
saw-
so, but
Yeah.
the stuff around the online service seems so nebulous that I didn't really get a good feel for what had it and what didn't. I would expect it to have online play, but all bets are off when it comes to Capcom and Nintendo teaming up.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Hey, it's also a really nice, local multiplayer game, I guess. But then again, you've got to, bring your 2 programs.
Exactly. Yeah.
need
It's
the
like-
hardware.
it also kind of fails that test of like, here you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand you this tiny controller and we're going to play a game. Meanwhile, now we're playing Street Fighter on analog sticks, which is only cool if we've never played Street Fighter 2 since the SNES.
Right.
Because anyone who has understands why that's a bad idea. It's just fucking weird, man. Like, it's all so strange. Like, I'm not like super opposed to any of it. Like, they're making moves and doing their thing across the board with the Switch. But just, it doesn't add up in a way that like I can feel like good about. Like I don't. It just feels all over the place. It feels like this was an opportunity for Nintendo to really gain focus and really kind of rally around some of the software successes they've had over the last 5 years or so. And the promise of it was like, oh man, does this mean we'll finally get a proper Pokemon game that we'll be able to play on a TV? But meanwhile, in
Monster.
interviews, they're out there going like, "Oh, the 3DS has a long life ahead of it." And I don't think I feel like they're not necessarily. They may believe that. I don't think that's the case. But also, for the Switch to truly succeed, I think they need to get all their studios working on it and like give up on even the facade of 3DS. Like they need to be like, "Hey, Yokai Watch 3 came out in Japan. Of course, we're going to bring it over. You know, we'll do some light development here and there, but we're all in on Switch." They need to be out there saying, "We're all in on Switch across the board. This is going to be the platform you get to play all of Nintendo's amazing games."
They may be afraid to do that until they see how it sells.
But like that's a problem because if I think when they don't say that, that's creating a perception where you go like, "Oh, well," like the worst case scenario is that they dissuade someone from buying a Switch because they go, "Oh, well, they're still supporting the 3DS and I've got one of those." Like
Like they can't come out with a new handheld SKU for the next like 3 years.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't think so.
No, or
So,
ever
yeah.
again.
So if they're doing that, you're like they need.
But also the
go
battery
all in
life on this
Switch.
thing is not great. So
Right.
if you're trying to put out a Pokemon friendly device for kids to use, this isn't that either. So it's like across the board, every little piece of the puzzle doesn't fit together quite right. Like they're telling the story, but I went out there and touched all of it, and I don't feel like their story holds up. And it doesn't. It feels off across the board.
Hmm.
And,
Like it
and
doesn't-
That's the scary part of it.
Like
I guess.
we're talking about it as like whatever core
Yeah.
enthusiasts, right? So like it's kind of not really ticking boxes for us. Like it maybe by Christmas it'll have enough stuff. And then you're talking about you're right, like the 3DS sales.
The
you're
motion
talking
control
about,
stuff seems like very half baked and,
Right.
and like this weird tentative thing for something that they kind of pioneered in a way. The way it is on the Switch feels like them going like, "Hey, remember us? We still do this." Like meanwhile, like motion controls, I feel like have gone on to become like the almost exclusive domain of VR.
right.
Because VR is the thing that makes motion controls make sense because you're wearing the helmet, you can't see a screen, like you need to interact in a 3D space. Hands are a great way to do that. Good motion controllers make that possible in a way that like, you know, the Wii was a fun toy. They made good video games around it. VR with hand controllers like opens up great new potential. This feels like them taking all those steps back to going like, "Hey guys, let's go bowling."
So were they?
But don't look at the TV.
Because VR is not for mass market, right? And the Wii obviously
it's
had
not,
that.
yeah.
And the Wii U, they sort of tried to have their cake and eat it, and they failed.
Yeah.
Do you think that this one, that they're trying to go for the mass market appeal again? Because this seems so complicated that I don't know who's not like an enthusiast
Right.
gamer would pick one of these things up.
Exactly. And so I feel like they're trying. I feel like they want to have a foot in that to say like, "Hey guys, remember the Wii? We did all that stuff. Like, think all the fun times we can have. Bring this to a party. And hey, maybe you don't play a ton of video games, but bring this to a party, and we'll have a party. It'll be a good time, fun."
Also, it looks like a tablet,
Yeah,
and everybody
yeah.
likes tablets.
Right. But I don't feel like the software backs it up well enough, and I just. Yeah, I feel like they get out there, they put out their trailers, they got the people on the rooftop, they got this and that, they got, you know, "Hey, hold the controller this way, do this, hand them a controller, go buy a regular controller if that's what you really want, go buy more of these controllers and you can punch and do this." And, you know, they've got all these different ways, but no one way feels like the way. But also, each individual way feels like it has enough flaws to it that you're like, well, there's got to be something I'm missing here. And so I walked out of that thing going like, you know, I think there's some great experiences to be had on this device. And I think that the software, you know, they'll get there. You know, they don't have the number of games like day one that I think that people want. And I understand why people would be disappointed. They'll get there. But also, there's the potential that because they are chasing so many different things at once, they don't get there because they're going halfway down each one of these roads and never really focus on any one thing. So it felt like the opportunity of the Switch always felt like me of one of literally focus. Let's focus all of our efforts on one device.
Yeah.
Let's make good on the types of games we've been making for the last 10 years, 5 years, on the 3DS, on the Wii U, this sort of stuff. We can finally kind of make good on the Wii U concepts because you can take this tablet away from the device and still play games. And we'll finally get like handheld games onto a TV games onto a handheld. Just one device that works great in Japan where they might still want a handheld, great in the States where they might still want a console. Like it felt like the perfect device for them to be making right now. In some ways, the only device they could make right now if they want to stay in the hardware business. But it feels like they're watering it down. It feels like they're tripping over their own device. You know, like there's not enough focus in any one department.
Well, there's
And maybe in 2 years, like,
Yeah.
there's enough games along every single one of those pathways that you go like, oh, they made good on all of this.
yeah, the software
When
lineup.
everyone
but-
forgets about the IR thing.
Yeah.
Right, like the software lineup can change and evolve over time. Like that's
Yeah.
I don't think it's
But
it's not time to write it off yet just because of what they've shown prior to launch.
You're right, but at the same time, like I feel like they are wasting their time, and also making that thing like maybe a little pricier than it needs to be by putting that much tech into the Joy-Cons and motion stuff. Like it just feels like they're trying to do a little bit of everything. No one piece of it feels amazing, and yeah, it's weird. I would really like to spend more time with one. I think Zelda looks great. I think Mario looks great. I think Snap
Clips.
Snap map.
Friend Shapes, Snap Map looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a great potential for that device to appeal to the smaller third-party games that we're seeing,
Right.
and even the bigger ones that we're seeing out of Japan, but also like independent development and stuff like that. I think this could be really big for that. So I think there's a really strong path, but I feel like it's too noisy. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't come away from that thing feeling great about their chances, I guess I would say, because it felt like it was all over the place.
I mean, the lineup for launch obviously doesn't look super impressive. I feel like the rest of the year doesn't. That what I worry is that like even looking 9 months out, it doesn't look like there's much there.
Right.
I feel like E3 they need to turn up and be like, yo, here are like 20 great games.
Right.
coming
Now
out
that
in
gives
the
them
next
space,
12 months.
that gives them 2-3 months to get past the launch.
Exactly. Yeah. One would hope that they've got a second wave of announcements
Yeah.
lined up for, if not E3, then somewhere around that time frame.
I would guess that they do.
That's why I say, like, there was a lot of rumors prior to all this stuff about stuff like Mario Maker and stuff like Smash Brothers. I have to figure that stuff probably is like an E3 sort of time
In the
frame
works.
sort of thing.
Also, I mean, a new Zelda and a new Mario in the first 8-9 months.
Yeah, it's cool.
Nothing to sneeze at.
No, yeah. But I think it's going to take more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
over the long term, sure.
Yeah.
So Ultra Street Fighter 2 pricing has not been announced in the U.S., but based on Japanese pricing, it is looking like $40,
Yeah, that's insane.
which seems
That's
pretty
like- that-
pretty steep.
That's a nightmare. that's a crazy. That is an unreasonable price for that product.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense unless they've got huge new things they're adding to it that they just didn't show.
Yeah.
Like
Violent
that's-
Blanca.
Okay, all right. What if it was pacifist?
Pacifist, yeah.
He just crouches down and
yeah.
nothing comes out.
Yeah,
Ticker tape.
While we're talking about forthcoming
constipated.
Naps.
Nintendo games, they just announced a direct for tomorrow about Fire Emblem, and they made it sound like they're going to talk about more than one game.
Okay,
So you could see them detailing that mobile game they've been talking about for ages,
right. Yeah.
and maybe a Switch Fire Emblem.
So they announced that came out of the it's the Koei. There's like a Fire Emblem
You're right.
Heroes.
Oh, that's
they're
right.
Fire Emblem Warriors, like Dynasty
Yes,
Warriors.
that's right.
Fire Emblem.
They did
thing.
show footage of
Man,
that.
they're making a lot of Fire Emblem stuff all of a
It is
sudden.
very popular.
Yeah. But this seems like it would be too soon to really touch on any of that stuff because they just had their Switch thing.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know, but they've got a direct devoted just to Fire Emblem
Yeah.
happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific.
I don't even know what to make of that. If it would primarily have to be, I guess that's their next phone app. So
Yeah.
presumably it would be a lot of that.
I'm super curious to see what that mobile
And then an extra little
game
tease
is.
about the Switch game. I don't know.
maybe, yeah. But stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
All right, that is the dump, the info dump.
Yeah.
That is everything we know.
Straight out the ammo dump.
Yes,
dump.
Rhyme Syndicate.
on the Nintendo Switch, and it's like 6 weeks to launch or something.
It's cool. It's super weird.
Wait and see how this thing goes.
Like the people keep asking for recommendations. Like, oh, should I pre-order one? Should I pre-order one? Like, I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I don't.
Even we can't say for sure.
I
right
don't
now.
think I would really recommend it right now, just because the day one software, and I think it's maybe worth waiting and seeing.
I don't know.
on
I mean,
it.
if
I don't know.
if you really want to play what seems like the best version of Zelda,
Sure. Yeah.
pre-ordering it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's
my only way
tough,
to play
tough
Zelda.
to say. Yeah, or if
I
you
don't
don't
have a Wii U.
if you don't have
If
a
you don't
Wii
have a
U,
Wii U, then yeah.
then you extra need one to play Zelda.
It looks like pre-orders are,
Yeah,
Amazon is all full
They,
up.
they all
and-
sold out
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
quick.
if they're only gonna put 2 million of these things out
Mm.
at launch, like they'll sell them. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's the 6 months in. Are we getting a Nintendo Switch ambassador certificate in 6 months because they had to like pack in 1-2 Switch or cut the price or do something? Did they have to? will they have to make aggressive moves once they hit all the early adopters, or will they have enough games out for it to catch, or will it catch? Or
When is Scorpio looking to?
this
Like
fall.
holiday, I
Yeah,
think
this
is what
fall.
I'm
Okay,
saying.
so it'll be
Fall.
that and Scorpio going up against each other for the holiday console
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
du jour.
And the
as it were.
PlayStation 4 Pro,
Right.
which is just a 4K Blu-ray drive. It doesn't even play games.
It's two sides of a DualShock 4 that you stick onto
Okay,
the PlayStation
all
4.
right.
There you go.
Yeah,
Just hold it in your lap.
yeah, portable gaming.
Okay, we need to take another quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about some other gamey related stuff.
Sometimes when you're on the go, it can be challenging to figure out what you're going to eat and prepare a proper meal.
That's a lot to think about.
Exactly. So take the thinking out of the process, but
Finally.
keep the feeling good in, thanks to Soylent Drink.
This is an interesting. I'm trying to parse this equation here.
Uh-huh.
Less thinking, more.
Less thinking, more doing,
Okay, more drinking.
and some more drinking.
Okay.
With Soylent Drink, each bottle fulfills more than just 20% of your daily nutritional requirements, providing you, yes, you, with the freedom to choose how you want to spend your time. What do you want to do? Do you want to go climb a mountain?
Sure.
Do you want to hide under your bed?
I hadn't thought about it, but I guess so.
Decision is yours.
Man, the world is my oyster.
Soylent makes it possible. It's ideal for busy people who don't always make healthy eating choices or skip meals altogether.
I know how that goes.
Soylent Drink can take care of your hunger so you can worry about the important stuff,
Like what?
like hiding under your bed.
Oh, okay.
Or laying around on the couch.
Yeah, that's
Or
pretty
doing
important.
jumping jacks for
Yeah.
an hour. I don't,
Wow, that's a lot of jumping jacks.
that is a lot of jumping jacks.
It's like hundreds, if not thousands.
But if you converted those into burpees, maybe it'd be like 10
Ooh.
burpees or something
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that. I don't know. Ingredients include protein isolated from soy, fats from sunflower oil, and carbs derived from beets. Beets. Drop these beets into the drink. Plus, with flavors like delicious cacao, fruity nectar, and subtly sweet original, eating right also tastes great.
Great.
How about that?
I like it when it tastes great.
Well, terrific. Don't wait. Try Soylent today. You can go to Soylent.com and use the code Bombcast to get 15% off. That's Soylent.com and code Bombcast.
Danny,
Hey, what up?
what you been up to?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
Gallivanting around Europe.
Oh, yeah?
That was my month.
Yeah. Yeah, you were gone for a while.
Yeah, it was fun. It was you were gone for a while, wasn't you? You were gone 2 weeks, in Japan or something. I ended up doing about almost 4 weeks.
Wow.
in Europe. It was like, it's the whole thing when you go back home for Christmas when it's not far, you want to go for like a decent amount of
Yeah,
time.
really soak it up, right?
Yeah, because then you only get to see people like once or twice a year. And then my wife's family decided to do the like, this seems like a uniquely American thing, the like Home Alone Christmas away from home thing. Like and they went to Rome.
Wow.
And I'd never, it was on my shame list of countries I'd never been to while I lived in Europe for like 26 years. So yeah, we went to Rome for like 5 days and Pompeii and Sorrento.
Yeah.
So I went to basically the Amalfi Coast, where that Hitman level takes place.
Really?
And I think I sent Vinny a picture. There was a Caravella's restaurant in like one of the towns that looks like Sapienza, I
Nice.
guess. That was cool.
Did you find any secret underground biolabs?
No,
While you were
sadly
there?
not. No, I did kill a man with a cannon though, who was playing golf. So
Okay.
it was pretty true to life. Crazy part of the world. It's like something out of a Tolkien book. They're just like living on the side of this like massive cliff face.
Oh, wow.
And Pompeii was amazing. Actually, the lamest thing I did was the day we arrived in Rome. I'd like been working on our Doom docs up until like the day before we left, and then when we left, I went for a run around Rome the next morning, or like 2 days later, and I listened to the like Jesper Kid like Assassin's Creed music while I was
Nice.
running around.
Nice.
Saw some Borgia Towers.
Okay.
And
Try to climb any of them?
no, sadly, no. There was lots of police with massive machine guns everywhere in Rome, as you would expect. Cool place though. It felt like more like a video game city than I was expecting, because everything is within walking distance. So it actually like felt
right,
relatively like accurate. Like,
That mission objective is right over there.
so what was the big the big building that was beside the Vatican where the guy lived in? It's like this big dome and it's got a wall around it. It was like the one you were trying to break into to kill the guy at the end of the game.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
For like the whole time.
Yes.
So I came around the corner and like saw that, and it was
wow.
like the weirdest trippy.
Huh.
It was like when I went to New York and sort of did the Liberty City kind of walk around tour. It was like kind of like that as well. Cool city.
That's cool.
Yeah, really pretty.
Yeah.
And then I went and hung out with John Romero in Ireland.
What?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he lives there now, right?
So
He's-
weird.
he's-
Yeah, is he there full time?
they're there,
Romero Games.
Okay.
Yeah. Brenda Romero and John Romero. Obviously, is it? I forget her surname before they got married, but she worked on Wizardry and
Brathwaite.
Brathwaite, right?
Yeah.
Brathwaite. Yeah. So the two of them, I guess she was on like a Fulbright to Ireland a couple of years back and was doing like a tour of a bunch of different colleges that were running educational, games education stuff, and also. I think all four of her like great grandparents or grandparents were like legit Irish born, so she was kind of doing the tour of Ireland then as well. And it's about 2.5 years ago or something, and they just fell in love with Ireland basically, and moved with the kids and everything over to Galway, which is on the west coast of Ireland, sort of like the big tourist town outside of Dublin.
Is there other development in that city?
EA has a customer service and QA department.
Okay, so that's where everyone runs their tax shelter QA thing.
Yes,
So all
exactly.
the Old Republic QA, like customer service is run out of there.
Yeah.
and
apparently that's
Apple has a bunch of stuff in
Yes.
Ireland.
Amazon has too. I'm not sure if it's any of the development stuff
Yeah.
specifically. I mean, Microsoft, if you, outside of games like tech wise,
right. Yeah,
shed
there's a
loads.
bunch of stuff. Yeah,
But there is like a pretty great like indie scene there as well. Some good games came out in the past couple of years. Like Guild of Dungeoneering came out of there. The Little Acre came out in December. That was in development for a while. Big mobile game. Sort of play a lot of folks in Dublin as well doing that. So I think they kind of like. I mean, I'd never met John Romero before, but he has this sort of like indie like sensibility to him, which I think probably resonated a lot, and Brenda as well. With I mean, she makes like wonderful experimental board games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sort of socially conscious games as well. Really interesting stuff, and I think that sort of like they kind of fit the vibe of there. I think a bit.
I think John Romero kind of came into that vibe. I don't know, like post Doom, post id, especially John Romero, like all the Ion Storm stuff, and then like they popped up at Midway for a hot minute,
Right.
Yeah.
which was weird.
And he seemed like he started like 3 other studios,
Yeah, and
here
then
and
after that,
there,
there was
and,
like,
like,
was it like Monkey
doing-
Bone, Monkey Stone,
something like
something
that.
like that. There was a handful of studios that kind of came and went.
Doing Facebook games for a while.
Iron Slipgate,
Right, yeah.
or
Really
Slipgate Ironworks or
Yeah.
whatever it was. Yeah, there's a bunch of studios along the way. But,
And then,
yeah.
so I don't know if he told you or if you can talk about it, but he had that Kickstarter that they ended up shutting down.
Yeah.
Is that project
did they shut that
still
down?
going? Yeah, they didn't
Yeah. So they
allow it to finish.
They cancelled it after like a week or so, and
Yeah.
it kind of looked like it wasn't going. You know the way you can
Yeah.
tell,
Yep.
like they kind of looked like that. But also, I've seen a bunch of Kickstarters that have cancelled. Like Sociable Soccer was one around that time as well. That where like it looked that it got outside funding and basically went,
Okay.
okay,
Right.
we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So like that. Like it wasn't part of the interview that we did. It was kind of like they were like, we're not going to talk about what's it called, Dark Room, Black Room,
Black
Black
Room?
Room, I think.
is the name of it.
But it sounded like they're working on the sort of Donovan, I think it's Brenda's son, made this game called Gunman Taco Truck that they were sort of shopping around. It's they're finishing development on that at the moment.
Okay.
It's kind of like an iPad. It's you own a taco truck and there's like a food delivery aspect to it, and then there's like a bullet hell you driving from city to city.
Okay.
And I think it's a bit like Overland where you pick, it's like cross country and you pick
Okay.
where you're going thing. So it's like a sort of a side small project thing that I think they're wrapping up at the moment. And for,
Heck of a name.
yeah, it's pretty strong. It sounds like they're going to be announcing something maybe soon enough about the other project. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that's the feeling I got was that little game they're finishing up, and then there's something bigger happening afterwards. But it also sounds like he is just living in like rural Ireland, and it's called Romero Games, and it's like it's a real, like Galway is a real. There's a tourist element to Galway, but it's also a real like mom and pop town, like the local butcher, the local news agent. It's that type of place. It's not as sort of like. It's not like Dublin where there's a Subway on every corner. You know what I mean? There's a McDonald's there, but it's not like all the coffee shops are local and stuff. And it very much feels like they've made like a mom and pop video game development studio.
That sounds all right.
In the heart of it.
Yeah.
They live like 10-minute walk from downtown. They said he's still getting his driver's license, and they've been living there for like a year and a half. And it was really weird to talk to John Romero about like Irish potato chips and like speaking Irish and all the weird little idiosyncrasies of growing up in Ireland. Like he was saying like I was like, well, what have you been up to recently? He was like, he basically is playing World of Warcraft and drinking Pepsi Max, which is basically what my 4 years of college were living in Ireland.
That's just what you do there.
Yeah, big Helmut Kruger fan.
Nice.
He said.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. Hard not to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So that stuff will be on the channel at some point?
About 2 weeks time we'll have a profile on him.
Okay.
It's not exhaustive about his history because that's been done to death.
Yeah.
I mean, go read Masters of Doom.
Sure.
He had a copy of Masters of Doom there.
Nice.
He had like he brought me somewhere else where they had basically a stash of all this. Like that guy is just like a video game like history nerd, and it just so happens that he is also in video game history quite significantly.
Yeah.
So I remember before thinking like, oh, he references Doom a lot and like he talks about his past work a lot, and you know he always pops up and like he's tweeting about Doom and stuff like that, and kind of that can go both ways. You can be like, okay, somebody's like talking about their greatest thing they've ever made for like 20 years later,
or they're trying to remind you like, hey,
yes.
I did the thing, I did that thing. Yeah.
But after like spending like I spent the day basically, we had lunch and like the interview and like sort of walked around a bunch and I met a bunch of other people at the studio. He's actually like one of the most genuine like people in games development I've met, and kind of came across more that he's just like a massive fan of games and is like super proud of this one game he made, but also like has had like success in other ways throughout. Like that Facebook game they made did insane.
Yeah.
Like it was millions of people playing it. So it was interesting, to talk to him about sort of where he's at, I guess, as a developer.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, so soon enough. He has not played the new Doom yet.
Wow.
Okay.
But he,
Huh.
so we talked a little bit about that
Good
as
to
well. But he seemed to be like, he seemed to enjoy where that game went.
Okay.
And then also like, he hadn't watched the Doom series that I'd worked on, but was talking about like all the different revisions of Doom 4 that they probably won't ever talk about as well. So
Sure.
seems like he's still got some people in there who are telling them.
He hears things.
Yeah.
That's always the way.
I could see that.
Did he have any opinion on Buckfast one way or the other? I figured to get over there, you got to sample the local.
The Bucky, I don't think he's much of a drinker. Actually,
Okay.
is what I got out of that, which is probably just as well.
Yeah.
Because like half the places to eat in Galway are pub. We went for lunch in a pub.
Yeah.
It's a good place to have a hard drinking problem.
I've been thinking about Buckfast a lot lately.
I should have brought
in a way that's
back.
kind of alarming.
Maybe my buddy Jeff Newman's coming over for GDC.
Yeah, we'll see.
There,
It's coming up.
there are always ways if you need to
Yeah.
get your supply. Did you have time to play any games? As all this has been going on?
I mean, when
What
I
you
was
been-
over there, not really, because
Yeah.
I had a MacBook and the only thing that I could run on it was Rocket League.
Sure.
So I'm up to about 180 hours on Rocket League now.
It's a lot of Rocket League.
Across, it's a pretty good game. You should
Yeah.
play Rocket League.
Yeah.
Game of the year. This 2016.
Sure.
I've been when I was doing what happened was when Alex asked me to do the Game of the Year stuff for you guys, then suddenly I was like, fuck, I have to play some of these games. And Hitman was one of those, and I've played a bunch more Hitman over the past couple of weeks. But the one that I picked up since, which I didn't play any of, was Dishonored 2.
Okay.
And I feel like that was kind of, it's one of these games where like it's so intimidating to start playing it because you know that you can like kind of like Hitman, where like this isn't one I'm going to be able to like knock out in a weekend.
Right.
So I better make sure I've got like a decent amount of time for it. And I never really played the first Dishonored that much. I there was something about like, I don't know, the like animation or like the way you kill people or like the melee stuff that just seemed like it didn't work. Or
For me, it was
click.
just like the thing about the first Dishonored was like this. It didn't always do a great job of telling you whether you were in stealth or not,
Yeah.
or just I just never felt comfortable with the blink in tight quarters. It never felt right to me.
It was like messy in a way that I think, especially after playing Hitman, that I wouldn't be able to put up with. But from listening to Jason talk about it and a bunch of other people during the Game of the Year stuff, because I was totally blind to, I decided to give it a go. And this one's fantastic. This is like straight up, like even the tutorial was the most thief-ass thing I have ever played in my life, where like they're asking me to pick somebody's pocket and like all of the animation, the melee stuff, I thought worked because I was assuming I'd do maybe a pacifist run, and then I did the first level of. Have you all played Dishonored? Have you played this?
Not
play?
too much
You
of
play
it.
a bunch, right?
Oh yeah.
So you know that
yeah,
first level where they basically dethrone you. I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna like do a pacifist run of this game, and I was like, no, all these motherfuckers need to go. Like I think I stealth killed 5 of them, and then was like, I went back and like decapitated them all just to be like, nope,
Yeah,
no.
I got over it real quick, and
Yeah.
it feels great to go back in there and just say, "Oh fuck everybody."
Yeah, like in
That game really shines in that respect. I think.
yeah, the frenetic like melee combat is done really well in a way that like so many games fail, like games with swords and shields, and there's plenty of them. So I'm really into that. I mean, level architecture is incredible. I feel like I can replay them. The way they like tot up all the information after the level in terms of like this, how many people you kill. This is like, it gives you that like graph of, you know, stealth, murder, you know, being seen, being caught, and it like.
I always think, something goes left. Like I'll go in, I'll be like, I'm gonna be a little sneaky, but at the end of the level, I am firmly in that corner, just like, you know, chaos and just fucking death and destruction, and I feel good about it.
And I don't know, like I'm big fan of like Deus Ex and Thief in those games. But whenever I played those, I'm, you know, hot quick saving all the time because I want to get that that run through. Because a lot of those games, when it goes bad, they're not super fun. Like trying to hit dude with a blackjack, it's just like, god damn it. Whereas in this one, it's a lot of fun. I can see myself replaying levels in this, and there's not many first
like trying different ways. And stuff.
A lot of people seem to say that about this one.
Yeah, it's good. Cool. I think this is a good time to play it because it's like it came out in the middle of a rush and everything else. There was no shortage of great single player campaigns last year.
I think that was part of the reason that a lot of us didn't really have time to put much time into it.
I just played it, and having really not enjoyed Dishonored 1, I kind of got into Dishonored 2 a little bit. I was like, I ended up feeling the exact same way about it. But
yeah, this game's not going to change anybody's mind on Dishonored for sure. But if you really like the first one, this one totally more the same.
More and better.
Yeah,
it
is.
I don't know.
In some ways.
Sometimes I feel
Not the
like
story
you can
so
like spoil a game for yourself by playing it at the wrong time. And I was worried about doing that with Hitman, that like sometimes I don't have the patience. Like I want to complete this game, so I'm going to sort of barrel through it.
Whereas like if you just like, I got a half hour, let's see what this game's about. Like you might never go back to Hitman. You might just do the fake ship and just go like, all right, nice. Yeah.
And there was a lot of 2016 was like that, where there was, I mean, games are getting so long and so feature full at the moment that like, you know, that's why I love Titanfall so much, because I was in, out, it was a great campaign and it didn't like overstay its welcome, and every level there was something new and then it was over. But yeah, I think with the way my sort of business life works now, where I've got like insane 3 weeks worth of like, you know, 12-hour days followed by a week of basically decompression, like that I've been able to find time for games like Hitman and Dishonored in a way that I sort of didn't before.
Stuff you can just kind of lose yourself in.
Yeah, a little bit. And they're good worlds to do it in. Yeah. Also, Glitter Mitten Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I still haven't listened to your podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't intentionally because I was away when it launched, and then again it wasn't. I don't know why the fuck I bought a Mac. What was I thinking? But I had to wait till I came back.
They're for creative people.
Oh, God damn it! That keyboard's so good though. That screen's so good.
It's
got like 500 megabytes of memory, but whatever.
I like my Mac. It's a really good web browser that I can bring with me places.
That's basically it. So it was like the first game I played when I got back. It suffers like, okay, the obvious thing that everyone's talked about, it suffers from the fact that this isn't like just some link that you can be like, oh, it's an interesting, and then you're like, wow, like the gig is up by the time you've paid $20, like you know what it is.
Right.
But what I love about it is that in a way, like the previous game, the games themselves weren't all that interesting. It was the references and the gags and that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas there's like a weird like craft to each game in this one that's like really really clever. I think if you don't get the references, or if you're not interested in that sort of level of, I don't know, game design jiggery pokery, it's probably not that fun. But like I restarted that initial game twice because I wanted to like make sure I had the like right ratio of sunlight. Like I actually enjoyed that whole game. That game was fun.
No, so I got a copy of that game knowing full well what it was, and started playing it, but I didn't know how to get to the next thing. So like I probably played 2 hours of the fairy part of that thing, and got to see like that stuff of like, oh wait, no, the sunlight's not hitting my collectors right. Yeah. But I was able to go, oh well, if I cut the tree down here, then the light will get in, and do, you know, like there are fascinating mechanics to be found all throughout that thing. Yeah. And that's the thing that I think separates it from the previous game is like, there are elements in there that you kind of want to see, like you kind of want to see more of, but maybe not that much more of. Because I feel like if some of those ideas you could flesh out into full games, some of them I think you definitely could not, but I still would like to see a little bit more of them than what is there.
Right.
And then the references. I mean, some of them went over my head, to be honest, because there was just a level of dedication to some early ass, or I guess actually some late ass DOS stuff,
Right.
that just was like the year before I finally bought a
Right.
PC. So we were already playing Doom and waiting for Quake and all that other stuff by that point.
Yeah, that second game was a bit. I didn't really understand what was necessarily going on there, but I still found that like fun. I think
Yeah.
the toaster one, I was like cracking my arse off laughing when that happened because
Yeah.
it's just such a bizarre combination of two different genres,
Right.
In it.
And it's hellish in
it's
some ways. Where you're just
brilliant.
like
Yeah.
this is really smart, but also like fucking way harder than I wish it was.
Totally, yeah.
So yeah, that part of me was like, that was the first time where I was like, man, I hope that they aren't all this fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because I kind of had a hard time getting out of that one the first time through. Yeah, I think that thing's a lot of fun. I went back and eventually got like there's kind of a you can finish the game, but there's kind of more to do. I
Right.
went back and did the more to do stuff and found that stuff to be worth it in the grand scheme of things. Like it's neat.
It's a hard one to do. That's a really difficult like second album to pull off.
Yeah.
When the gag
yeah.
is based on not knowing.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, that stuff's really hard. I think, but I think that there's enough stuff in there that's like funny and fun that it kind of just stands on its own. But yeah, I think if you start comparing it to that feeling of surprise from the first game, like there's not a lot of ways to recapture that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, and your favorite game? Your all favorite game, I guess. Hitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just start digging in recently?
Yes, like December was
Yeah,
when I started
okay.
playing. So I'm doing that thing where I played like 3 or 4 levels and I went, no. I need to like figure out one of these levels.
Yeah.
Which is kind of frustrating in a way because the elusive target this week is in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd never played that level. And then I went to play it and that's a really hard.
I heard that one's a doozy.
The elusive target.
Yeah.
I just think the general level
Oh yeah,
is
that
difficult.
level is
Yeah.
hard and on its own. They're just because there are hostile soldier type enemies everywhere.
everywhere, right? So
Like, I can't think of a non-hostile character on that entire map. You know, like
Right.
most of the maps have tons of just like civilian type people wandering around that don't care. But that one is nothing but guys with machine guns.
and like generally in packs of 2. So like
Yeah.
if you take
Yes.
one out, there's another
Yeah.
one that's like, hey, where's my buddy gone?
Lots of lines of sight all over the place and a lot of like trespassing areas and stuff like that. It's a tough map in general. And then I heard this target is pretty rough.
I was trying to like, I wish I got a heads up that that's what that level was going to be. Because now I'm like basically just trying to practice that level so
Yeah.
I can do the elusive target. I think it's like 2 days left on it or something.
Yeah.
I was super bummed though. I thought I figured out this really cool way to kill people in Bangkok where, you know, that jerk, the what is he, the band guy,
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
the guy in the band, yeah.
Indie rock asshole.
Yeah. So I did the thing where I was the drummer, which is so, I got it so, when I was so worried when he went to play drums. And it's like, no, actually, he's just a badass drummer. Like he's Tobias Reaper in his spare time. It's just like playing rock band all the time, whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're on like the top of the building there and you can throw him off onto the glass.
Yeah.
The other guy walks around the map, but he walks under where
Oh,
he
man.
is.
Oh wow.
But the game doesn't recognize it.
It's not like a challenge
No,
or something. They didn't.
And I tried to do it like 20 times. So I was
Oh,
like
man.
interrupting the conversation to make him keep going so
Yeah.
this dude would walk out the foyer entrance or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I had the timing there and I saved it and I must have tried like 12 times.
Yeah.
And he just falls through him because the animation goes on the glass, the guy stops,
Yeah.
and then he falls through.
Oh,
and,
that's a shame.
and there's no way to manually throw him over that part where the glass is.
Yeah.
So it was like the one time that
Yeah.
I've seen where that game doesn't
Oh, that's a
recognize
shame.
the cool idea you
Yeah.
had.
Killing 2 targets with each other is a
Right.
pretty good.
Can you do it in Paris or something? Or can you land something on 2 of them?
There is a point where you can get one of them to walk out on a balcony right over top of the other one.
Yes.
But I've only used that to snipe both of them from a distance.
Because there's a
Right.
challenge for that.
Yeah, there's a
like-
challenge to snipe them both within 10 seconds.
Oh,
so
that's the
I've done
fireworks
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Is that when you get okay?
Yeah, but I don't know if you could throw her down on top of him from there. I'm not sure.
John Romero was saying that he's played is Paris over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to do the Master Vampire one. I guess is that I didn't.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's like a side set of challenges
You
that
like dress up.
I hear are quite hard.
That Christmas one.
Yeah.
Was so funny.
Yeah.
That was that just Home Alone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was just
Yes.
the wet
Oh,
wet
yeah,
bandits
the burglars
Yeah.
are literally named after those. Yeah, it's them.
Where's Santa? I couldn't find him.
He teleports. I haven't
Moves
seen
around.
him yet, but
Yeah.
you'll hear a little sound every time.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
every time he teleports around the map.
It's just,
it's- It's quite a game.
So
and watching them do things to it over time has been awesome.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, we're gonna get more of this the whole way through?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
so is season 2 going to get baked into this one then?
that was the word.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's not.
This is the kind of the shell for season 2 as well.
It's not super confirmed. They haven't put out any real official statements. It's all been kind of out of like translated interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds like potentially we could just have a second set of content equal to the size of the first, like shoved into that game. Which, sure, give me that.
I'd love to know. I mean, you can probably tell it with like Steam stats and stuff, but one of those trends from last year from talking to developers was the whole idea of like week 1 sales don't matter so much anymore.
Right.
Like the sort of long tail stuff matters a lot more. Like Psyonix, when I was talking to them about Rocket League, like that was very much like they make more every month now than they did on launch, and they sell more copies now than they did even then as well.
Yeah.
And like you look at a game like Hitman, where I mean, still talking about it.
I mean, that's such a word of mouth thing too, because like on its face, you're like, hey, we're making a new Hitman game. Like, all right, sure, of course you are. But then by the time they got to like, I think episode 2 or whatever, I think that was the one where people were like, no, you guys, you need to see this Hitman game.
But I wonder if they just launched the game like they'd originally said, where it was just like the whole game, like standard, there you go, boom, like Blood Money, right? There it goes. Like, even if that game was as good as it was,
right?
It's so much of this is a marketing thing.
Yeah.
Like it surely wouldn't have sold as much because you'd still be saying, "Oh, that game came out, but it came out a year ago," and a lot of other stuff.
I don't think
also,
people wouldn't have kept talking about it the way they did.
Right.
It still feels fresh
because
But
it kept
also,
trickling out.
And that's the thing about it is that if they, I think we talked about it before, but like if they just put out that whole game at once as it exists today, you would play each level once or twice and move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
But by limiting that content, artificially or otherwise, I mean, I'm sure that they needed the time to make it, right? But by limiting the feed of content, they inspire you to dig into the depth that has kind of always been there with Hitman. But like most people, like I was never a big Hitman fan prior to this,
right?
But even still, like the last thing I would want to do is go play a Hitman levels twice,
right?
On top of,
all right, did that fine.
Right. On top of holding stuff back for periods of time, like they kept going back and putting new stuff into old maps.
Yeah,
like the new elusive targets and escalations and stuff, like make you go back and play those old maps in different ways, and it's a pretty brilliant way to keep that thing feeling fresh.
It's I remember talking to some friends about like the old Hitman games and like what we loved, and people always talk about that one level they replayed over and over again. And in fact, what comes up more often than not is that you remember the demo for Hitman 1 that was in like Chinatown or somewhere in New York, and there was like the waiter comes out and takes a leak behind. Like everyone's played that level 1,000 times and loves it because it was the demo, and because they had to play it over and over 1,000 times. So it's like they almost like just captured that feeling in a bottle and then figured it out.
Yeah. It's like people have been talking about episodic games for years, right? And I think more people have gotten it wrong than have gotten it right in terms of just like release timing, or hey, we have bugs in this prior episode that we didn't fix because we're too busy working, we're locked into this schedule now, or whatever. Like there's been a lot of ways that stuff has gone wrong, and this feels like them getting it right for a style of game that you wouldn't necessarily immediately think would be great for that format. Like stuff like the Telltale stuff, like it makes sense that that's episodic. Even though, like they've had their technical issues along the way for sure. Like you wouldn't think of Hitman as being like a game that you would engage with in a social way.
Right.
And also a game that you would
like go back to.
Yeah. Like you see the story and you go like, all right, I hit all the men. Wrap it up. But the between like making different things and sending them around. Like, they created a lot of reasons for people to talk about that game with other people on a wider scale. I mean, I think that those conversations probably always happened about Hitman, with the people who were into them. But yeah, I don't know whether it's we live in an age where people want to share weird shit that happened to them in a video game in a grander way than they did before, and the tools are there. Like, I'm sure it benefits from all the share functionality, screenshot shit that is in all the consoles now too, because now it's not just like, hey, let me tell you about this guy I killed. Now it's like, no, I need to save that shit and send it to you because look at this crazy shit.
Or just the way games coverage is now. Like,
totally,
I would not have played, like I'm a Hitman fan and I did not have time for it earlier this year, and I would not have played it if it wasn't for the fact that you guys did that video series. Like that's what got the hook in on me. So like that's probably another byproduct as well, like Twitch and YouTube and everything. Everyone's
like just having more ways to show that shit and show how inventive and fun it is. I'm sure totally helps.
Yeah, it was a slow burn that spread kind of virally.
Totally.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. in a good way, not in a I'm sure that like in some way in the back of someone's mind they were probably thinking like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if all this stuff lines up and then we get people playing Hitman all year long? Like, I'm sure that someone had those thoughts.
like the best case.
But that's best case. Like,
but
I'm
that only
sure,
worked because the game lended itself to that.
Yeah.
And is good enough.
But
to
I'm sure like someone at some point probably like hoped to build for that. And that's the thing I hope with when they do season 2, it would be nice to see them kind of find new ways to make good on some of that stuff and maybe try to find a way to add more of a I'm not saying like synchronous, but like some kind of more multiplayer hooks, more kind of challenge type stuff.
Yeah.
Be better at surfacing some of that content. Find new ways to kind of keep people talking about it. I think that they've got like for as good as that game is, I think they have a huge opportunity there to build that stuff out as they go.
Sure.
So yeah, that thing it seems like it could be even bigger than it is right now by the time they get to season 2.
Sky's the limit for that thing. I think wasn't there
depending on their engine and how far they can go with it.
Wasn't there some? I don't know where it came from, but there was some suggestion that IO was already thinking about a season 3 if they can get that far. So
I mean, you got to make those plans, right?
Yeah.
You got to start thinking about like, okay, well, if we do that, do we do this? And at what point can they overhaul the engine to finally support dropping bodies onto other bodies?
Right.
Like is that something they could do now, or is that such a major refactoring of things that it would break season 1 if they built season 2 with like those kind of new things in mind? Yeah, I don't know.
God, I would love them to see them do some multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
Like just even so it's like two Hitmen.
Yeah, 2
one
Hitmen
target.
competing, something like that. That'd be cool. Like there's a lot of stuff they could do. I mean, they've got all these sandboxes built. Now it's just a matter of like what, how far can they go with it? And that's
New
stuff
Mexico
that
rules.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
totally.
And that's stuff that then theoretically benefits all that season 1 content over and over again. Like here's 2 more reasons to go back and play all those levels for another 10 hours a piece. Like that's fucking crazy.
Like the added value on that game now is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's
so much stuff.
and that's where games are at now. And that's why like release schedules are weird, and it's why week 1 sales don't matter don't matter quite as much as they used to for some types of games, and why game coverage is really strange again. Because for as much as like I feel the same way that I felt when MMOs became really big, and we no longer had the staff to cover them all the way that when you saw a rise of fan sites devoted to MMOs, because the generalist sites didn't have the staff to cover them the way that those fan bases wanted them covered. Like for game developers making that style of game, I think their ideal is that they build enough of a fan base to where now it's like, all right, we've gotten back to a point where there is a literal Hitman fan site out here that is like the destination for Hitman coverage, and the generalist sites will check in with trailers and all this other shit along the way. But really, our most ardent fans are here, and hopefully we own that domain, and that's them signing up and becoming our customers, even whatever it ends up being. But like it feels like that again, where the games as a service stuff is going to take the now depleted staffs of all these generalist sites and stretch them even further, or force them to specialize in a way that
It kind of feels that way already when you like, at least when I was working next door, it was like a game like Overwatch was like you need to be specialized in like classes, even characters at that stage to really like satiate the audience for that game.
Right.
It's
and I don't know, we had solutions in mind for a lot of that stuff based around kind of build like community building and wiki building and stuff like that that never really came to pass. But it's
planetoverwatch.com.
Right, there you go. If things had gone this way, we would have registered overwatchbomb.com.
Oh my god.
Because we had registered wolfbomb.com and
FIFA bomb.
FIFA probably
Don
actually.
Bradman bomb.
Yeah, donbradmanbomb.com. Like at one point I generated a list of like 40 domains.
Oh my god.
That this company still owns and maintains some of them.
Oh, that's great.
That were like that idea that just never really came to pass. Forza Bomb, I think we probably got that one.
Forza Bomb.
Yeah. It's weird. Like it felt weird last year, but also right. And I maintaining that balance and straddling that line kind of as we enter this year and think about things is like we did a lot of Hitman videos last year.
Yeah.
But we did them because we wanted to do them. Yeah. And because the game was good enough to warrant it, and it made a lot of sense. Back if I was still working next door and 10 years ago or something like that, the idea of devoting that much time to any one game would be insane. but that's where we're at now. All right.
Yeah.
It's
Got to adapt to
yeah,
survive.
totally hard problems to solve in a weird way.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
fascinating ones.
Yep. Drew, before we move on to emails, tell me what's going on with Elite Dangerous.
Well, as I think we previously discussed, there are
Yeah.
aliens in Elite Dangerous now.
That came up, but none of us.
Thargoids.
What?
Thargoids.
Oh my goodness.
Thargoids?
Thargoids.
I skipped my Thargoids day today. They're
That-
stretched them out too
My
much.
Yeah.
Thargoids are screaming.
Which I think I did not have a BBC Micro or whatever the original.
Don't
Elite
fucking
came-
look at me, mate.
came out on. But I think they in previous Elite games there were Thargoids.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
But this was not like I have not seen them.
Oh man. Okay.
And I don't think I am in a place in the game where I would be close to them.
You're not in Thargonia?
Well, I don't know how I haven't looked into how you actually see the aliens, but all this hubbub about the aliens in Elite Dangerous made me remember that Elite Dangerous is a really cool game. So I just wanted to go back and play some more Elite.
VR support.
If I had a VR headset, I would probably have tried it in VR. I would like to try it here. But whenever I go back into Elite Dangerous, it's about an hour of making sure my track IR works, rebinding all of my HOTAS buttons, rewatching all the very well produced Elite Dangerous tutorial videos, which I watch at 1.5 speed on YouTube.com. But once I get in there, it's great, man. It's just lean back and space truck and
Tool around.
yeah. It's a really relaxing game.
Yeah.
Once you get over that hump, and it's not a as gigantic a learning curve as maybe some people would lead you to believe. It's not like EVE Online or anything. Seriously, watch the tutorial videos if you're thinking about it, and it works really amazingly well on a controller, and it is currently out on Xbox One.
Heard good things about that controller sport.
So you don't need to be a crazy person to enjoy it.
That's how I ended up
Elite
playing it
Dangerous.
when I tried it. Is I was playing on a PC with an Xbox controller. And it didn't seem like it was tons of information, but it seemed like a lot. It seemed like it was, to your point about finding games at the wrong time.
Right.
It was definitely that case of like, okay, I have wrapped my mind around the basics of this, but it's clear there is more.
Yes.
And it's going to take me some time to get up to speed on
And
this,
that's
on
either
the stuff
daunting
that-
to you or exciting.
Yeah,
to me,
right.
that is exciting.
For me, it was at a time where it was daunting, where it was
Yeah.
like, oh, at some other time, maybe this would be super exciting because I could just like sit down and dig into it, but I just did not have it at the time.
Yeah.
Right then. So
I'm also really excited about the prospect of landing on planets, which is a thing that they introduced in Elite Dangerous Horizons.
So why have you
Right.
not done it yet? Is there some
So-
hurdle to
you got to buy wheels.
landing gear
Yes,
costs low?
you do.
Okay.
You have to buy a landing package,
Mm.
and not every ship supports it. I haven't looked into it, but I watched a tutorial video about it.
Okay.
Also, I was kind of assuming, I don't know why I thought this because it's Elite Dangerous, that you would just fly down to a planet and land. Nuh-uh.
It's not No Man's Sky.
No, it is not. There are vectors. There are attack angles.
Oh, really?
It is a whole thing. So
Gotta worry
landing in Elite Dangerous is intense.
So it's you have to like you can't like overheat coming in and like have the right momentum.
It's something like that. Yeah. Wow. You got to be this
Like the
shallow or
Enterprise.
you'll skip off the atmosphere, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot.
So that, yeah,
Yes,
sounds
it
like-
is. Also, the tutorial video, he goes through this like 7-minute landing sequence, and he gets down. And once you have landed, you can take back off again. And like doesn't do anything on the planet.
You can't get out, right?
You can if you have a rover vehicle.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
'cause
you
there's no
can't walk.
first
You
person.
can't walk
Yeah.
around.
I don't think
That's
you can
Star
walk
Citizen
around.
only, right?
Okay.
Yet. They seem to be
Right.
updating that game quite a bit.
Yeah.
Elite or
Elite.
Yeah.
It's,
Seems
yeah.
like every few months I hear about some big new thing in there.
Yeah.
So
It's
we
great,
we
man.
will await your progress report on finding some aliens.
I like Elite.
I hear good things.
I am still dangerous.
all right.
Yes. Your reputation precedes you. All right. One more fast break. You got any fast breaks?
No,
Might be one of the
I
vending
got to take
machines.
5.
Do they have any in the machine here?
No, that fast break. I think they might have discontinued the fast break.
Oh, that's
No, they have not. It is still
Are you
very much.
you still see fast breaks out there?
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah,
still
good.
it's
All right.
got a palette.
readily
It's a
available.
quality bar.
Well,
It
we're
is.
gonna quickly go see if we can track any down.
We're gonna take 5. I can find you a take 5 bar.
I'll be right
So
back.
good too.
New year, new moves.
What kind of moves?
Whatever moves you want to make. What
Making
are you,
moves
are you
over here.
Are you going to start a business? Are you going to change careers?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it.
Are you going to launch a creative project?
Man, that's a lot of moves to make.
Well, whatever moves you choose to make, you can tackle that next move with Squarespace. Squarespace is widely used by all kinds of people and businesses. It gives you the ability to create an online platform with which you can make your latest goals into a reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
To get from here to there.
Exactly. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery to get from here to there, an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website.
That sounds all inclusive.
Yes. And it offers a unique domain experience that is fully transparent and simple to set up. How about that?
I have never registered a domain, but I would like to.
It's a great time.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
There's still domains out there.
Yeah. So
In fact, there's probably more domains than ever.
I was looking at a domain 3 days ago.
Yeah? Did you get it?
No.
Oh.
It was very expensive.
Oh.
There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever with Squarespace. If you have questions, you can turn to their award-winning 24/7 customer support for help. And you can get a free trial. You can start that free trial today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code
That
BOMBCAST.
sounds easy.
Then you get 10% off your first purchase. So
Man.
try that free trial.
Easy and generous.
Yeah, and if you're going to spend some money, use the offer code BOMBCAST,
Yeah.
and you'll get some money off. 10% exactly.
Some smackers.
Smackers. That's offer code BOMBCAST for 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website.
All right, as is customary at the end of the show, it's time to read some emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is where you send those.
Email. Why is there no news?
We talked about it. I don't know if people consciously got out of the way of the Switch or what, but
Yeah,
not-
there was not too much else.
Move,
very-
going on.
very-
switch,
very-
get out
Go on.
the way.
Uh-huh.
Move. Switch.
Great. Okay.
I had that Will Smith
you.
song stuck in my head because of your stream every time a Switch
I'm
gets
glad I
mentioned.
can. I'm glad I could help.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. It was either that or Kwarashi's Switch stance.
That wouldn't have landed as hard.
Yeah.
No.
Boy, yeah. Did that live Switch stream?
I
with
did. Yeah,
News
I
Coast?
audio yelled over that press conference.
Nice.
And the chat was broken for a lot of it. And,
Yeah.
But yeah,
We're really milking it.
go on. I guess there's nowhere to go from there.
That's it.
To
All right.
emails.
That's all
I
you
guess.
got. All right. Unsurprisingly, the emails were utterly dominated by questions.
Utterly
about-
dominated.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just pops out of the subconscious
Yep.
without you even trying.
That or you're just always thinking about udders.
There's also that. Yeah, like practically nothing but Switch questions this week, although we kind of covered a fair handful of the ones that I pulled. But
Should I pre-order it?
yes, there are definitely some of those. There's a lot of questions about the fact that they have gone back to the well on motion controls instead of kind of doubling down on it as a console and stuff. But we've covered that stuff pretty thoroughly. I've still got a bunch that we haven't talked about, and Jeff, I will definitely lean on you a lot for some of these
That's why I'm here.
since you have touched the thing.
I touched it.
You did.
It touched me back.
Oh, is that?
HD.
HD Rumble. How many balls are in my hand?
Oh my God.
Just the two.
Oh boy. Andrew writes in from Akron, Ohio. I'm looking at getting a Nintendo Switch because I do a ton of traveling for work. Do you guys think it will be durable enough to be tossed in a backpack and jostled around if I'm traveling with it for a third of the calendar year?
I think you might, yes, I think it'll be durable.
Did it feel sturdy?
It felt sturdy. It didn't
Okay.
feel like cheap plastic. It didn't feel like the Wii U tablet. It felt packed. It felt tight. But, you may want to get something that flaps over the screen or some kind of thing that is going to cover it. And you will obviously need to do something about the power situation.
Right. I've already seen a bunch of I think it was the exclusive, the best edition of Zelda had like a carry case.
Yeah, it
for
comes with a
already.
case.
really?
It comes with
Okay.
a case for the system.
So that seems like they will be selling
you,
those.
You would want something like that just to keep the screen from getting fucked up.
Yeah.
But
Any idea what the AC adapter ends in on the other end of the cord? Is that just
yeah.
USB-C?
Or is-
I think so.
So
Yeah,
does that mean-
because I think you use the same adapter because you either plug it into the dock or plug it into the bottom of the Switch directly.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so you can just take the dock out of the equation and just take that with you to charge
Yeah,
it,
as long as you're not looking to hook
Or-
it up to a TV.
or
yeah.
buy a second charger,
Right.
to take with you.
Or buy a second dock and put it in your summer home.
Wait,
Oh, damn it.
are they selling docks?
Yes.
For 90 fucking dollars.
For 90,
Wow.
for 90 effing dollars.
That seems nuts.
all of the accessory pricing around the Switch is
Yeah.
That's crazy.
rough.
Uh,
Very rough.
well, hang on. I think we have an email about that exact thing.
It's like
find it.
Buying a windscreen for a lavalier microphone.
Exactly.
You guys really got to stop.
That's exactly
losing
what I
those.
thought of.
I found one under the chair
Oh, yeah?
earlier. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hang on to it.
Will they
I
sell?
kept
I think
it
Dan
there.
has just been stealing them because he knew he was
Or,
gonna,
like, eating
he's
them
gonna-
or something.
Yeah,
I don't
he was going to bring them
understand.
all out to New York and
Like present them to Vinny as like a peace offering
Yeah.
or something. Just
Yeah.
like, here,
I
look what
bring
got.
goods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Steven wrote in and said, if the dock part of the Switch is just a USB Type-C with HDMI and a power supply, do you think there will be custom docks for it, or could you just use an off-the-shelf USB Type-C dock? Any idea?
I would assume
Probably.
like the
I
USB
don't-
Type-C, like a general cable would just carry the power, not necessarily
Not
video.
Not also the
Yeah,
video.
that's
Yeah.
probably
You think that's
proprietary
custom
business.
stuff
But,
they're doing?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long before you can go on like Alakazam or whatever
Somebody
and buy
will-
something overseas.
Somebody
that-
will come up with a single cable solution.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Huh.
I think so.
That's cool.
And like
Yeah, I wonder.
docks as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, because that's a standardized, connection.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots
But
of like, cheap
yeah,
accessories.
I don't know
out
if there are like hooks or buttons or tabs or something on the Switch to
Right.
where it knows it's in the dock because it's pushing certain tabs.
Yeah.
Like the slidey, the wrist strap stuff. There is some kind of click in, lock on type functionality that if it comes loose,
Right.
the game will pop up and go, "Hey, your strap became disconnected."
Like it needs to know that the screen is turning off now, and then it's going on to the television.
Yeah,
So it's going to be like the PlayStation 1. You're going to get the inside of that pen,
Yeah.
and you'll stick it on the back so
we're
you can
gonna
swap the discs.
unfold a paper clip and stick
Right.
it in the hole
Yeah.
to push the thing down on the lid, and it'll be fine.
Perfect.
Joe writes in
Yo, Joe.
and says, the portability of the Switch is nice and all, but according to Nintendo's website, the battery will only last 3 hours playing Breath of the Wild. What I'm curious about is exactly how hot the Switch is going to get in those 3 hours. My phone gets pretty warm just playing simple games. I can't imagine how hot the Switch is going to get on an airplane when I'm dueling a stranger across the aisle. At least it has a vent.
Yeah, I think that's one of the theories behind why it would clock down or run in a reduced state.
Did
when
you notice
not
it?
plugged in.
Did you notice it getting warm?
No, but like again, like the one time I was
was
able to hold the whole thing, it was surrounded in black
encased in it,
metal,
okay,
so
yeah.
like
Yeah.
there was no getting at it to
Sure,
know.
sure.
But they had those things on all day.
Yeah.
Well, and by all day I mean 3 hours of that event.
Okay.
So maybe not all
Yeah.
day.
Did all the
I think-
batteries run it?
It doesn't have a fan in it, does it? Like this vent he's talking about, I guess you weren't able to really
Yeah,
get
it was
in
a
and
loud
look.
event. It's hard to know. I would
Yeah.
not be surprised if it had fans that spun when you were plugged into power, because if it's running hotter,
Yeah.
because if it's running better plugged in, they're going to need a vent
Yes.
that maybe they don't do when you undock it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Hope none of them catch on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty popular. I mean, Vita never got that hot.
No.
I mean, we're talking
Phones
about
though,
bigger things.
phones will get fucked.
Yeah.
Phones can get
They're
pretty
just
warm.
hot.
They didn't have support. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah.
it was Sony's fault. It wasn't hot.
Nice.
Wah, wah. Taylor says, seems like Nintendo is in a tricky spot here. Ideally, they probably want to move their, and we talked about this a little bit, they probably want to move their 3DS owners to the Switch while picking up a new audience who, like me, probably didn't buy the Wii U. At first glance, it appears the solution here would be to move all 3DS development to the Switch, but can they risk deprecating the 3DS with an install base of over 60 million to fully focus on the Switch? Is that sort of mobile gaming success possible anymore?
I think it, like you can look at the overall 3DS install base, and that's a very big number.
But not as big as the DS. Like it
Right,
is
yeah.
down some.
And also, if you look at the unit sales of software and stuff, like, it's not like they're selling 60 million copies of a game.
Yeah.
So there's more of it's like a theoretical current active user base, which is going to be way lower than that number. I have 5 3DSs in my home between me and my wife. So,
And how many games did you buy last year for it?
I mean, they send them, so
Right,
it's
yeah.
kind of not
Bad
it's
example.
bad. But how many did I play? 2.
Mm.
I mean, I actively really enjoy and play. It was Rhythm Heaven and
Right.
Picross.
My niece
So.
got one last Christmas and just plays Animal Crossing.
Nothing wrong with
Don't
that.
need another
It's a
game.
hell of a game.
Yeah.
I
But
saw a DS being played in Japan.
Nice.
Wow.
I don't think I saw a 3DS.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's, that's when they say things like, oh, we're going to continue making games for the 3DS.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Of course, they're going to say that.
you're
right
going to
now.
say that right now,
Yeah.
but A, I don't think I believe you. And B, I think that's a bad way. I think that's a bad approach. I think they should absolutely migrate as much of their development over to the Switch as possible, because that's going to give them the best chance for success there in a way that they did not see on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And there's more potential there than I think there is even on that there was with the 3DS if they get it right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think the 3DS should continue much past this year, and I think most of the stuff we see this year should be stuff that's like it's been in development for a while, or it's localization jobs, and stuff like that.
Kind of close the book.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it'll be a
On
big
the
year for
3DS.
3DS.
Yeah.
If they come out at E3 and announce a bunch of 3DS games, that'll be really crazy.
Something weird's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
they've done this whole like, oh, we've got a third pillar now. That song and dance has been Nintendo's fucking story.
I forgot about
all
that.
along.
I forgot about that. They totally came out acting like
this
there would be
is-
another Game Boy after the DS.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Remember that?
Really? No.
Yeah, yeah. Because when the DS came out and people were just like, what? What? Like 2 screens, a style? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do with this thing? Like, I don't want to use a touchscreen to play games. And the messaging was very much, so what was it at the time? It was GameCube and GBA were the other two.
Oh, right.
So those were on the market. And then the
Gosh.
DS came out and everybody's like, what the hell is this? This is not a Game Boy.
And they're like, oh, well, it doesn't
And
replace the GBA. The GBA is still the GBA. Of course,
They very much like that phrase, the third pillar, became like infamous with their messaging about that, because they were basically reassuring people, like, hey, it's cool. If this DS thing is an experiment, if you're not into it, there will totally be another Game Boy.
I was working at
Nope.
a GameStop when all that was going on, and
Yeah.
at one stage there was like something like 5 or 6 different Nintendo mobile like handheld SKUs between the Micro and the Advance, but they were all selling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Game Boy Color was still going after
Yeah.
the Game Boy Advance came out, and like, yeah, they were
The
all over the
Nintendo
place.
section was just like all of these different versions, and like I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is, they were very willing to publicly hedge their bets on the DS not being a big success
Right.
by saying like, yeah, we'll make another Game Boy, don't worry. But
I mean, they're a pretty conservative
no
company.
need.
A lot of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
stuff,
And that was never, I mean, they always have to get that, oh, well, the thing you bought we're still supporting that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like, no, I mean, I still don't see 3DSs on store shelves. So like the stock of that still is not necessarily like recovered from the holiday or,
Right.
or to whatever extent it's going to. I just don't see them.
Like how many people
making
bought a
too many more of
3DS
them.
in the past year and are going to feel burned if like stuff only comes out on Switch? Like I feel like that 60
Yeah,
million
I
people who
wonder,
owns
yeah.
it is people who've had it for at least like 2 years.
or
of this
if you
year,
did
like.
if you did buy one recently, there's a huge library of good cheap
Totally.
games out there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not a huge problem. All right, let's drill down to the questions that really matter. This one is from Lowell. In the first 2 pieces of footage for the new Mario game, we have seen Mario collect rings, spin dash, and awkwardly coexist with real-looking people. Is Mario now Sonic?
Yeah, after some cultural exchange that happened at the Olympic Games, he has taken on some new customs.
Something was going on in the Olympic Village.
Look, Sega can't make a good fucking Sonic game to save their lives, so Nintendo had to step in and do it for them. Like, what do you want me to say?
That's fair.
What if Mario becomes the new Sonic in terms of quality, and then that new Sonic ends up like
We just flip
revitalizing?
back.
Yeah,
God. Oh, I would be way into that in a weird way. Like that would be exciting to see. Yeah, I don't know. Some people asked in interviews, I guess, like, what happens if you jump on those people's heads?
yeah.
And the response was like, "What you think happens happens." Just kind of.
3 Goombas
They
pop out.
die?
Wow.
Do they fucking die and turn into
I
coins?
don't think I was ready for that.
Like I
Mario murders people?
don't know.
Mario got dark.
I hope so. Oh, I don't know. I always like when I sat there looking at that trailer, I thought like, oh, I bet maybe you could jump on them and they would like grab him and throw him up and
Or
give
like
him a
a
boost
boing,
or
like
something.
you-
Yeah,
bounce up.
Yeah,
Or
Their hats.
like a trampoline.
It's either that or you land on their hats and their bodies smush down all the way into their
Yeah.
hats and they're just a hat with feet that
Okay.
walk away.
That works
That's
too.
how
What
they
if
die.
what if they're the Yoshis in this game, or Yoshi? I forget how to pronounce that.
and you ride them,
Yes, he's riding humans.
hit them on the back of the head, and they
Yeah.
spit their tongue out.
Sure. Yep. They're yep.
Oof.
Yeah.
So there are going to be a lot of questions
Like I
to
said,
answer by
yeah,
the time that
exactly.
game comes out.
There are so many questions around Super Mario Odyssey about just the nature of our universe, Mario's universe, New Donk City, and
Yep.
beyond. Like
Yep.
there's a lot going on.
Mario got weird.
Yeah.
I like that name.
New Donk City.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And New
Yeah.
Donk City.
Kind of echoes Galaxy a little bit.
Mhm.
It makes it feel like an extension of that.
I almost said New Dog City, and now I want to see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nintendogs 3.
Don't we all? Joe writes in and says, the NES Classic was easy to hack because the USB cable it uses for power also transfers data.
Yeah.
guess what uses a standard USB-C connection for power? The Switch.
Uh-huh.
How long until the Switch is the easiest hacked console ever?
I mean, they did the 3DS, right? So
Yep.
on to the next.
And the
Yeah,
Wii U as well is pretty...
I hope for their sake they have gotten their hardware security stuff under control with this thing.
Yeah, I think of that as maybe also being... And, like, who knows what percentage of people take that dark route, but, like... it's another good reason to maybe not triple, quadruple down on the 3DS at this point, unless you've got some means to solve those security problems. Move people over to the Switch, and hopefully their security's a little bit better. The people that were like kind of taking donations after they hacked the 3DS were like, we're going to use it to buy some 3DSs to finish off this work, and then the rest of the money is going to Switches. So like that's their plan, is to move on to that and kind of see how it goes. And
What if it's like that first PSP SKU where like only the original ones you could hack?
Yeah.
So then like the launch Switches are just going to be super vulnerable.
I mean, that's how a lot of it ends up, because whether it's whether it's the hardware itself or just like that early firmware has something on it that is, exposes more than the later firmware does. That's almost always the case.
Cool.
With the way that all of their existing hardware has been hacked now, you have to wonder like if how much they care about that and how much that makes them want to move everyone onto a new platform.
Yeah.
I don't know that, it's not like, oh, everyone is stealing games. It's not quite like that, I'm sure. But you wonder if that ever becomes a factor for them, or how much that crosses their mind as part of this.
Yeah. I'd love to know what the percentage is.
I don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah. Kevin writes in from Michigan. What are your thoughts on Reggie Fils-Aimé? Has the self-proclaimed ass kicker and taker of names been a positive or negative personality for Nintendo?
I think he was the right guy at the right time.
Yeah.
When he was when they were building that character and stuff. I think now, like whatever, he's probably very effective at his job.
Yeah,
keep in mind he's got a day job and he does real work. He's not just some face guy that's out there.
And he's been there longer than
figurehead.
most of the executives at this stage, or like at
a lot
across the board. He's been there a good while, right?
He's been there since before the Wii.
I think he knows that business. I think he knows Nintendo's business very well.
Yeah.
And I think that, you typically only see him in a public speaking sort of role, So when you see him on the Tonight Show and he sounds just like he sounds on stage at E3, like, that's not how he really talks when he's just talking to people.
He's a good pitch man.
Yeah, he'll get up there and pitch his thing. But so it was actually interesting going to this event. So this event was weird, and the tour that they're doing is a little weird too, because it sounds like, so we were there on the first day, and it was press and like high level influencers,
Right. Matt Pat.
and then over the course of should I know who that is? I feel terrible. And then over the course, so they were there until Monday, I think was their last day.
Were they checking clout scores? What were they doing?
I don't know. Yeah, but it sounded like every day it was just like a slightly lower tier of people getting in to it or something like that. But it was still controlled that way. It wasn't like open to the public. And so I imagine as they do this tour, like they're definitely like pitching it to people with big YouTube followings,
Right.
who are then shooting. They shot all their videos there, and they're just like, "Look at me on this thing," and like doing all that type of coverage. So and they did this like they had like the pink 3DS. Did they do that, or they were launching a new variant of the 3DS, and they pitched it almost not almost exclusively, but like they went after mommy bloggers.
Oh, right.
And had events in New York that were targeted to that sector of blogs at the time. And so they've been playing that game for a while, and
Right.
I think they play pretty well. That's anyway. This event was weird, because it felt a little bit like that along the way too. But it opened with Reggie kind of getting up and giving kind of a quick talk, and they were like, "Hey, do not film this part."
Right.
And you got like a lower key Reggie than the a little bit different than what you see on stage, a little less like bang 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 rehearsal type stuff. Like he was like, "Hey, we're here to show this stuff." Like a little more humble, a little more like, we're happy to get you guys to check this stuff out. And I don't know enough about him and the job he does, but they seem like they're doing fine, and he's been there a long time. So
I do like how incongruous he can seem with Nintendo,
Yeah.
Sometimes, for sure.
but it's fun. It's not ineffective.
They needed somebody like that.
I think they probably for this market.
Yeah.
They needed somebody
Yeah.
relatable. Like, I imagine.
And I think that, like, honestly,
a 7-foot
I feel like
Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, he's like this kind of like somewhat
keep the
stern,
magnate.
like he's this kind of stern, imposing presence in this like very family-friendly, like
Yes.
Disney-esque company.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that, like, at the time when he was kind of first hitting the scene and had taken on that role and they, all the stuff, my body, like all that stuff kind of came along, it was the right thing at the right time. I don't know that version of Reggie plays well now.
Right.
And I think people still kind of try to hold him to that.
Like they want him generating new memes or something.
Or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like the people,
does
the people want that out of him. I just don't think that's the best look for Nintendo right now. And I think some of the stuff they've done with like the puppet shows and some of those stuff and, kind of leaning into it just enough to remind you about it without it being like an entire shtick.
Yeah.
I think is probably the right approach. I think they could stand to get a little bit further away from it than they even have, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, which is why it was kind of refreshing to watch that Japanese presentation and every time that dude snapped his fingers and then the camera cut, I just got happier and happier and happier.
Yeah.
It was like, this is such a dumb thing. It's so perfect. And the cuts were never as well timed as they needed to be for it to work.
Also, I don't know if this was the choice of the translator, but every time that line came out and you did the snap, like the way they translated it was, and now let's switch to this person. Like they never said the name of the person they were switching to. It's just like, let's switch to this person.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was the whole thing was a little askew.
Yeah, maybe it played a little bit better in Japan, but I love the way it came across.
No, I liked that. I thought it was fun and weird.
Yeah.
Let's see. A couple more Switch emails. Geo in Atlanta. The question no one is asking: will the rise of the Nintendo Switch finally bring back the giant pocket denim cargo shorts needed to carry it? I've been ready for this console for 15 years.
I hope so, because I need pockets you can put a 40 into.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 40 on one side, Switch on the other.
Yeah.
Is that how we're doing it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I mean, because you'll need power, you need all this other stuff. It's not.
Yes, the thing is.
That's the other pockets are for.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner writes from Ohio to ask Jeff and Jason if you guys are looking forward to watching competitors waggle and wave their arms around at EVO.
That's not going to happen.
No?
Like,
The thing's not EVO material.
no.
No.
Oh, yeah. Is he
No.
asking about arms
Yes.
specifically?
Yes, he capitalized.
Oh,
arms.
at arms.
No. No.
No,
That's not.
I don't. Well, I don't know because Nintendo holds Smash over
Yes.
like Evo's head.
Smash.
It's
Oh,
like,
right. Isn't that relationship is kind of weird?
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. And they kind of dictate like which game they're gonna play there. So
Sure would be a shame for Smash Brothers not to show up.
Yep, exactly. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be a weird side tournament or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, Evo announcements I don't think are out yet. But it should be pretty soon.
Yeah.
But I doubt that Arms is gonna be there.
Yeah. I mean, it comes out like a couple months before, so you never know. But
We're going to have to wait and see if Arms has any legs.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Thank you for your answer.
Damn it.
Tremendous.
I was gonna say that, but I thought I was gonna get fired. Like legit.
That's why I wanted to take the heat, I wanted to take the heat
thank
off.
you.
You jumped on the grenade. That was very boss-like of you.
All right. I grabbed just a handful of non-Switch emails because there weren't many, but I'll read them real fast. This one is from Drew. Hey guys, this is mostly for Jeff and Jason, but anyone can chime in. I came across an article online about Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. About
Don't
how
you think
This is a-
Backbone's
this-
version was better?
This is a backdoor Switch email, isn't it?
no, actually,
Okay,
no.
all right.
About how Capcom wanted to remake Alpha 3 instead of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but it was easier to remake Turbo due to fewer characters to make new frames for, and it being loved by serious players and the tournament scene. While I love HD Remix, the Alpha series is a bit of a mystery to me as I didn't get around to playing it. My question is, do you think Alpha 3 would have been a better choice for the remake, and whether it would have sold well? And what are your impressions in general of the Alpha series?
I think they'd still be like Udon would still be doing art.
Still
for
be drawing
characters
frames.
in Alpha 3. This is a huge roster.
Drew would
And
still
Drew
be
would still
cleaning up the frames.
Yep.
What didn't
PSDs.
that game have like 40 or 50 characters? or
Sure.
something
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
a big
Really a
ass
lot.
roster. Alpha
Yeah.
3 is a big roster.
really good roster.
Yeah.
But No, I think Super Turbo was the right way to
Really?
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
still
game was
like
just
renowned
more
as like
popular and renowned. Yeah, renowned.
Okay.
that is the shit.
I
still.
I loved Alpha 1 and 2 and never really played 3. I never quite knew where that thing stood in like the pantheon. Or
Head
how,
and
like,
shoulders above everything.
I don't know. Is that a scientific answer?
Time will
No,
tell.
that came from
Time
his
will
gut.
tell.
Time will
Yeah.
tell.
For me, Alpha 2 was the game, and that's only because we played it on the Saturn around this office like nonstop. For
Yeah, I would play Alpha 2
like
anytime.
a good long time afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alpha 3. I think Alpha 3 is like one of those things that's like on paper, it's definitely a better game than Alpha 2. Like you can't argue with the roster and all the stuff they did and you know, the changes they made to some of the systems and stuff like that. But my heart is definitely in Alpha 2, and my heart was never in Alpha 3.
I think I'm with you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest. As far as the Alpha series, you know, versus like Super Turbo or something, like Super Turbo is still like the pinnacle of, you know, Street Fighter 2, still played competitively. I'm sure that like that's their flagship. That's their fucking bright shining metal in that series, I think, and that's what they wanted to shine up and represent to people.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because like people were still playing that old ass version,
Yep.
so it was like, okay, well, how can we make new money on this game that
Sure.
that people are still playing? Whereas like I love Alpha, but I don't get a sense that like no one's talking about Street Fighter Alpha these days.
I am. I'm like every now and again. I'm
Yeah,
just
like
probably when there's like new character reveals,
and
like,
that's the thing is like
and it's like I want to see some of those Alpha characters.
because
and we're starting to see them
because of
now,
what
but-
they've done with the Street Fighter timeline and where 5 is set in the story and all this other stuff. Like they have plenty of reasons to just bring Alpha characters into core Street Fighter, and a lot of the systems and stuff, you know, like that have changed and
A's and V's and
Yeah,
the series is all over the place.
like
but-
there's a part of me that would love to see Alpha 4, but
Yeah.
now they've taken most of the meaningful characters from Alpha and dumped them into 5 or dumped them into 4, and you know, like you see them out there, so it's not.
It's a really different engine too. Like it's not like a
Yeah.
traditional, like, you know, it's got chain combos and stuff and like air blocking, and I
Right.
suppose it was in 3 as well. But
Yeah. That's I really enjoyed those systems, like all the Alpha air block stuff, and I was never into
Yeah.
Alpha counters per se, but like I liked the isms.
sure, you're an ism guy. What's your is it J-ism?
Yeah.
You like J-ism?
Love it.
This is getting weird.
Can't get enough.
This is getting weird.
What are we talking about?
I forgot.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Super Turbo.
How about
right,
we talk
yeah.
about the next email?
Is it about J-ism?
No, thankfully not.
All the emails are technically about it, whether they come out and say it or not.
Okay.
This email comes in from Jeremy.
Uh-huh.
Jeremy-ism.
If Microsoft ever added original Xbox games to their backwards compatibility list, what would be the first title you would want to see? My vote is for Barbie Horse Adventures.
Original Xbox?
Yeah. I don't have an immediate answer. Like nothing.
Yeah.
I guess Halo 1. I don't know.
Munch's Odyssey.
Or
Halo
2?
1 got re-released.
Yeah.
You know, they did,
Oh, right. Of
there's
course.
stuff.
Duh.
There's
Yeah, there's no reason to bring back
Well,
the actual.
Blood Wake,
Project Gotham Racing.
Mechasalt.
I guess. Like I don't.
Blinks the Time Cache.
Yeah, like I don't look back on that console and have a bunch of games jump out at me
Sneakers.
as like
The Xbox version of Black.
even Voodoo Vince is getting remade already. You know.
Right.
Can't think of much.
Was there an Abe game? Which one was it? Exodus? Which was
Munch's Odyssey
Munch's
was the
Odyssey,
launch game.
sorry.
Yeah. That game was good.
Yeah.
They've put that out
Was it? Yeah.
elsewhere, I think, since too. Barbie Horse Adventures, I believe, is one of the games that you could theoretically run on a PC.
Okay.
One of the very few games that seems to work.
For all those
Yeah.
Barbie fans who didn't want to have
Yeah.
hot PCs but didn't want to buy a console.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
that
those
stuff.
hardcore PC gamer Barbie fans.
That stuff's coming along pretty slowly, huh?
Yeah, very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The original Xbox, Crimson Skies. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a good one.
Also,
Okay.
yeah, it's PC as well.
But like,
Knights of the Old
would
Republic.
that necessarily? Would that game hold like, hey, we made this online dogfighting game?
Mm.
Is that something that would necessarily play again today?
Yeah. They never made a second one of those, did they?
High Road to Revenge. I mean, the Xbox One was a second game because that was
Yeah.
originally a PC game, so they kind of did
Oh,
a different
right,
thing
yeah,
for that
okay.
Xbox version,
Okay.
and then it just kind of all fell apart. Or did the rights to that, did that change hands? As
I feel like I remember some
stuff?
weird business thing happened with that.
Mm.
I thought.
Did FASA own Crimson Skies as well as the Mechasalt? Anyway,
Maybe.
I don't actually know where it all lies, but there's that Bruce Lee game.
I wonder if they ever will add any of that stuff on the Xbox One.
Yeah,
it would be cool if they did.
It
but
would be. I just don't know that there's quite enough demand to
Yeah.
warrant the work. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
happen.
Pariah.
Sure. Didn't Pariah come out on PC though?
Probably.
Haven't like all like even has Perfect Dark popped up somewhere else already?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the rare replay thing for
Right.
Xbox One.
Yeah.
You
So
play
I
that
feel
thing.
like anything that was actually anyone cared about from the original Xbox, there's like some version
No,
of it
Perfect
somewhere else.
Dark wasn't on
That was
that.
a- that was a
64.
360.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or-
No, what am I thinking
Wow.
of then? What was the first person?
Beyond
Brute
Good and
Force.
Evil.
yeah, Brute Force.
Mm.
Sure.
Maybe it was Black I was thinking of. No,
Hmm.
there was some first person. Oh, well, Halo, obviously. But
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. Thanks to time.
Right. Yeah. Perfect Dark was 360. Yeah. Blinks the time sweeper.
There you go.
Mm.
Freedom Force.
And PC as well.
Freedom Fighters? What was the one Vinny and
Freedom-
I played?
Freedom Fighters.
Freedom Fighters.
It's the IO game.
Oh, yeah.
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 Freedom Force is the irrational.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
The Freedom Fighters was also on PC.
Mm.
All right. Last email comes from Anthony in Long Island.
Petite copter.
What?
It's like a little, like you're flying a tiny helicopter around a level lord style, like
Okay.
giant room.
Sure.
Kitchen.
That sounds good.
Far Cry Instincts.
It's one of the few Japan only Xbox
Wow.
releases.
Whoa.
That's a small list, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With
I
a
sh-
French name.
I should have bought that over there. I did buy a copy of Halo.
Oh,
Nice.
really?
A Japanese copy of Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's got a different box art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
just in case.
I've got a Japanese Xbox around here somewhere.
Mm.
That's fun to do when you go to Japan.
Mhm.
Just to like just buy one or two little things like that that have no
I bought a copy
Actual
of
use?
Riot Act,
right.
which is Crackdown.
Yeah,
Just
because it's cool that it's
Oh,
called
nice.
Riot Act.
That's
Yeah.
such a much better
It's a
name.
way better name.
Like when I was there, I bought an $8 Super Famicom, even though I have a working Super NES. Just because I
Nice.
think like since I was 10 or whatever, and that thing came out, I always thought it looked way better than the Super NES. So I was
That's
like, man,
it's-
$8, I will. Yes,
The European one is what that is,
I
right?
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it looked the same over there,
I
right?
almost bought a is it Super Mario USA.
right.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What game is
It's
that?
Super Mario
Two?
Brothers 2 released back into Japan.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow. USA.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Anthony from Long Island. I'm playing Dishonored, the first one, for the first time, and there are no shortage of doors to open, and I can't help but close them after I enter the next room or building, even if I fully intend
Good.
on going back through
No.
it seconds later. Do you close video game doors behind you when you enter a room or new area, or do you just not care? What is the proper etiquette?
Depends on the game.
Yeah. Depends on
Only
the
if I'm
game.
being stealthy.
If,
Yes,
it's, if
it's
it's
a
a
stealth
stealth
game.
game, you
Yes.
want it closed,
Yes.
especially if there's like line of sight stuff.
is
like,
totally-
I guess. But
but I-
otherwise, no, fucking
No,
fling those
like
things open,
I've viewed
shut off
doors,
all the lights.
Like that's a breadcrumb trail as to like, oh well, I've clearly been this way
Mhm.
before,
Totally.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
find the closed door and go
Yeah.
that way.
That
Yeah.
sets off my OCD alarm in my brain where
Yes.
I'm like, make sure you're closing them because for some video game reason, not because you're rubbing light switches.
Someone might
Yes.
notice that the door is open.
Mhm.
Maybe.
That's true.
Someone opened the door.
I can't stop opening doors. Like there's so many like in Dishonored 2, there's so many like off the beaten path places to like explore with like the
And like
little-
each room tells like a neat story.
Yeah.
Like there's
Like, there are
lots of rooms that I
achievements
went
for them
into.
and
It's like,
stuff.
oh shit, people are around this fucking table. They were playing cards, but they're all dead. So
Right.
it's like, what the hell went down in here?
and some of them
Something
have
real
like
bad.
story characters that you'd probably not even notice and stuff. It's,
Yeah.
I find it. I have like that Vinny problem where I'm just doing everything now and
Yeah.
it's taking forever to finish levels.
It's because you have too much time on your hands.
Exactly.
Get yourself a day job.
I probably should get back to work.
There's an opening.
Health insurance. Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes you run into a game like Hitman where the doors close on their own,
I know.
which becomes like the timing of the doors closing in that game becomes a huge like tactical consideration at a certain
Oh,
point.
I've not reached that level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you get a feel for how long it'll take them to swing back closed?
Shoot
'Cause-
through it and then it closes on its own, or
something like that. You gotta
throw some scissors.
you gotta think about if somebody's following you or not,
All right.
and whether they're gonna make it through the door before it
Oh,
it auto closes. That is actually something you need to feel for. If you want to be a high level Hitman player like me, that's what I'm saying. All right,
Pro strats.
bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address for the future if you want to send some in. And that's it for the Switch centric show.
Mm.
Thanks for being here, Danny.
Thanks for inviting me.
Nice to catch up.
Pleasure as ever.
Yeah.
Good excuse to come into SF.
Yes.
I've certainly got cabin fever. I'll tell you that much. After
Hey, you want to
3.5
come in
months of
tomorrow and
this,
record
yeah.
Alt F1?
Yeah, he's basically keeping me sane, coming in
Yeah.
to talk about speedy race cars every
Is,
other week.
is the work at home lifestyle agreeing with you, or
It is,
Yeah.
because I'm like a control freak, and
Yeah.
I also like getting lost in the edit is a
Mhm.
fun thing. I like just like closing the shutters for 3 days and just
Yeah.
doing it. But yeah, like things like human contact and sunlight and things that you need to like be. Suddenly, I'm like proactive about
Yeah.
like going out on runs in the afternoon and like doing chores that aren't close to the house, which is really weird when you've got like Trader Joe's and everything like within like 5-minute walk. you kind of have to figure out excuses to go further.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
I think it's been harder because of the winter. Like I definitely have like a seasonal affective disorder kind of reaction to winter a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit like, oh, it's getting dark already.
Feel a little boxed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was just over the Christmas break and just even on the weekends
Mm.
and stuff like that feeling of just like I'm sitting, like my back is to the window in the room I'm in. And that's definitely that feeling of like, I'm working away doing the stuff and then turn around. Oh shit, it's fucking completely dark.
Yep. Oh, it's night now.
I'm going to die. I'm like, oh, it's 4:30.
I've been like changing my virtual reality time to account for it. Because if I've a couple of times I've done the whole VR at like 4 p.m.
Yeah,
thing,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
and then when you unconnect, that's so bad.
Is that actually disorienting?
Yeah, it's like upsetting because then you feel like the day's over, but then you've still got 6 hours of it left if you're like me and stay up till midnight, right?
Yeah.
So I've been doing the opposite, which is like I've been playing a bunch of Arizona Sunshine, I think it is that, and like that's generally in the sunshine in Arizona. So I'm playing it at nighttime when it comes at 6 o'clock because it's like
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
jump in. You do get that feeling. Same
Yeah.
with Google. You feel like it's daytime.
Mm.
You just the night you just turn it back to daytime.
Do you set hours for yourself? Do you do that? Like I've known people who work at home who would basically say like, okay, I have to shower and put on shoes and the clothes I would wear to an office and be in front of my computer by 9 a.m. or I don't feel like I'm at work. Like,
I'm not
do you do stuff like
bad.
that? Or?
I'm not
Yeah.
that bad, but I definitely have like start hours and end hours.
Yeah.
And then I just work through them. And if I don't, if I take like 2 hours off
Yeah.
to do something with my wife or whatever,
Make
then
it-
I
make
add
it
them
up
on later on.
in
yeah.
the evening. That's
You
cool.
need to, because
Yeah.
especially because like I don't know how, like I have this pressure that I need to like keep producing things,
Mhm.
and I'm essentially I'm like the last point at which like the stuff gets made.
You're the bottleneck.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm lagging, everything's lagging.
Mhm.
So finding that sweet spot of not totally over, like I needed this holiday break pretty badly, but finding that sweet spot means finding it on like a day-to-day basis, not on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. Like finding the
Yeah,
sort of
it seems like there's just a real discipline. I suspect that's why some people like end up just camping out in coffee shops and shit.
100%.
Where they're just like, I just need to not be at the house because I need that physical break of like, at home is where I do jack shit
Right.
or chores or like home stuff
Yeah.
and working and it's
it's like when
I
you,
don't know that I would have the discipline to do it.
when you start noticing that your eyes are focusing on things far away when you go outside, because you have like even in an
Right.
office
No,
here,
yeah.
it's open plan, so you're like looking around and you're looking at your screen. But like I'm facing a wall on the PC.
Oh, it's a
So-
small space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically our like living room, right? So it's it comes with its own set of unique challenges, but I'm very, very fortunate to be in the situation
Yeah,
I'm in. So
it sounds like a fun adventure.
yeah, trying
Yeah.
to make the best of it.
Yeah.
Make
Well-
some cool stuff.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for being here. Where can people
Pleasure.
see your stuff?
Daniel Dwyer on internet. Type it in.
All right.
Google
no, no clip video.
Google it. You'll
on
figure it out.
YouTube.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it then for this week's edition of the Giant Bombcast. We will see you back here same time next week.